Notice number 13. Cover letter for recording. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. August 25th, 2023 CCY. MC7T0000000047. MC7TN1082520232. 2. All recorders, clerks, property managers, and consulates to post on public notice. From Moor Circle 7 Temple. Reference number MC7T0000000047. Mail. Documents or requests for copies can be submitted to email moorcircle7temple@gmail.com moorcircle7temple@gmail.com. Noble Victor Royce Dukett L. care of 4045 Boulevard Place near Indianapolis, Indiana Territory zip exempt 46208. I hereby put all public and private corporations on notice and require treaty obligations to be made for the Moorish American National de Aboriginal Indigenous by Imperial and Aboriginal title proclaim the following. I send this royal notice in honor of my foremothers and forefathers. I am Noble Victor Royce Dukett L., an Aboriginal/Indigenous Moorish American national for the Moorish American Consulate in the Moorish National Republic Federal Government in Morocco, currently domiciling near the Foreign Union Corporate Territory of DeKalb County, Georgia Republic in propria persona, sui juris, heir apparent, heir unconditional, and upon my estate that all recorders are to record for the public record the instruments enclosed within this correspondence in accordance with your fiduciary duties of said public office. The instrument enclosed includes Moor Circle 7 Temple, World Declaration for Aboriginal and Indigenous People, Judicial Notice and Proclamations, Name Declaration, Correction Proclamation, and Publication, Legal Notice Name Declaration, Correction Proclamation, and Publication, Affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, Declaration of Trust, Charter Moorish American Republic, our authority, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America and Moor Circle 7 Temple, divinely prepared by the noble Prophet Drew Ali. Clear and perfect allodial titles. Treaties. Letter from George Washington to Muhammad ibn Abdullah Sultan of Morocco, City of New York, December 1st, 1789. Right of protection in Morocco. Moor Circle 7 Temple. World Declaration for Aboriginal and Indigenous People. Wherefore, I, Victor Royce Dukett L. being part and parcel named herein, and our birthright, primogeniture, and inheritance, make a lawful and legal entry of affidavit and public notification of lawful claim and declaration to be published for the public record in the aforementioned case. Chronos. Date, 18 month, March year, 2019. I am Victor Royce Dukett L. Victor Royce Dukett L., Northwest Amaxime Territory, natural person, in propria persona, sui juris, sui heredes. In solo proprio, authorized representative, all rights reserved, free Moor/mover. 1. Maintain the laws of the living Father and the law of nations. 2. Monitor compliance with international treaties, laws, and rights of Aboriginal Moorish American nationals. 3. Proclaim to all corporate governments our presence into these land of our God Allah and acknowledgement of our inviolable divine rights. The Moorish consuls anywhere are responsible for safeguarding and enforcing the laws of nations with respect to the inalienable rights of Moorish American nationals and to guarantee in all respects their most correct application. The domicile is established under Chapter 47, verses 1 through 7, Circle 7 Quran, and its legal patrimony with absolute loyalty and fidelity, excluding all others. Neutral in itinera, ab initio. These cuties are nunc pro tunc from August 1st, 1928. Moorish National Republic Federal Government. Societas Republicae al Mooricanos. Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. Northwest Amaxime/Northwest Africa/North America/the North. Gate. Judicial Notice and Proclamations. Upon my inherited nobility, and upon my private Aboriginal/Indigenous, proper person status, and commercial liability, I, Victor Royce Dukett L., being duly affirmed under consanguine unity, pledge my national, political, and spiritual allegiance to my Moabite/Moorish nation, being the archaic Aboriginal/Indigenes of Amaxime, the Americas, standing squarely affirmed upon my oath to the 5 points of light, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, do squarely affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and having knowledge and firmly established established belief upon the historical, lawful, and adjudicated facts contained herein, being competent, in my own proper person, to attest to this affidavit upon which I place my signature, whereas, I state, proclaim, and declare the following to be true, correct, certain, complete, not misleading, supreme, and not intended to be presented for any misrepresented, colored, or improper use or purpose, to wit, that I, Victor Royce Dukett L., am a noble of the Al-Moroccan Empire, North America, in propria persona, my own proper self, being Moorish American, a descendant of the ancient Moabites/Moors, by birthright, freehold, primogeniture, and inheritance, being aboriginal and indigenous to the land/s, Amaxime/Americas, territorium of my ancient Moabite/Moorish foremothers and forefathers, to wit, the Al-Moroccan, American, continents, are the land of the Moors, being North America, South America, Central America, including the adjoining islands, Americana/Amers/Al-Maroc. I have, acknowledge, claim and possess, by said inheritance and primogeniture, the freehold status thereto, all unalienable and substantive rights, to be, to enjoy, and to act, distinct in my aboriginal customs and culture, and determining my own political, social, and economic status of the state. Turning my heart and mind back to my ancient mothers and fathers, Moors/Moors, by divine and natural right. Being Moorish American, we have and possess the internationally recognized rights to determine our own status of the state absent of threat, coercion, or acquiescence to a color of law, a color of office, nor to be subjected to an imposed color of authority. Moors/Moorish Americans/Moors have, proclaim, and possess the unalienable, substantive rights and birthright, inheritance to our Al-Moroccan names and nationality by nature's laws, divine law, primogeniture, and by the recognized laws of the nations of the earth, international. Being the true, ancient, aboriginal/indigenes of the land, America, North, being the heartland of the Moroccan Empire. Moors/Moors are the de jure freeholders by birthright, inheritance and primogeniture status, and have, claim and possess the secured rights to travel upon the public roadways, byways, and highways of our continental United States, the organic land, absent of foreign colored or imposed excise taxation constructs invented by the racketeering states legislators, to abridge and steal rights belonging to the natural peoples. These substantive rights are supported by, and asserted by, royal law, Moorish law, Muslim/Muslim law, the law of the great peace, the laws of nature, divine law, nature's God, the laws of nations, the free Moorish Great Seal Zodiac Constitution, and affirmed by Articles 4 and 6 of the Constitution. Covenant of 1774 to 1781 AD equals 1201 MC, as lawfully adopted for the United States Republic, establishing its republican form of government. Said Constitution established the people's supreme law of the land to secure the rights of the people, and to keep government bound and in check by official oath, and by official bond. Down from the ancients ones, our primogenitors, comes the supreme law of the land. Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The Great Seal Pyramid is the national emblem and insignia of the Moorish nation/Empire of North America, geographical location. The Great Pyramid is also the archaic symbol for civilization on the planet Earth. The Honorable Moor's acknowledgement of our Great Seal indicates those heirs who own up to, who support, and who proclaim our free national government. Moors who are active and not passive in the social, civilization, culture and custom matters involving law, order, and governmental principles, are hereby entreated to support This affirmation. Moors/Moors who strive toward this end, with honor, are entrusted by Noble Drew Ali, to help in the great humanitarian work of uplifting ourselves, our fellow man, and humanity at large. We seek, at all times, to be conscious of the works, instructions, and acts necessary to teach, preserve, and defend the birthrights of all Moorish Americans, Al-Moroccans, etc. The noble Moors/Moors, heirs apparent, are the natural members/citizens of the ancient Al-Moroccan Empire, North America, and are duty-bound to recognize and to support our great seal sovereign Moorish government and nation of the natural people, and command the enforcement of our Constitution. Thus, such organized communication orders are referred to as the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs. The Free Moorish Nation, inclusive of all the Aboriginal/Indigene tribes and provinces of the natural people, etc., are the rightful bearers of the names and titles Ali, El, Bey, Day, and Al. The Free Moors/Moors, by freehold inheritance, retain all substantive rights and immunities, enjoy the exercising of substantive rights, and operate upon consummated, right law, isonomite, principles, having vested constitution, secured rights and immunities from taxation, and from criminal and civil jurisdiction by, and of, the Union States Rights Republic, USA, pursuant to, but not limited to, the United States Republic Supreme Court, and the acts of state to wit. Every sovereign state, people, is bound to respect the independence of every other sovereign state, people, and the courts of one country, people, will not sit in judgment on the acts of the government of another, done within the same or its own territory. The present Union States municipal and civil laws and codes of the land are an incorporated unit of self-government established by the political powers of the General Assembly of each state of the Union, and initiated at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, North America, in the year 1854. 1854, it governs only the rights and conduct of white people, Christians, and Jews. Of the 1863, 1863, Union States Rights Republic, under the Magna Carta, Charter, the Knights of Columbus Code, and the Ku Klux Klan Oath. Forever said Union States Rights. Republic denies citizenship in the United States Republic, USA, to the descendants of the Moorish nation in the Western Hemisphere, erroneously referred to, and branded in the slave offense. Negroes, blacks, coloreds, and African Americans, etc., etc. In addition, the Supreme Court of the United States, in the landmark case of Dred Scott v. Sanford 60 U.S. 19 Howard 393, 1857, held that Negroes whether held to slavery or free were not included and were not intended to be included in the category of citizen, subjects, of the Union States Rights Republic. Resultantly, the true indigene nobles of the Al-Moroccan Empire, free Moors, bearers of the names of titles Ali, El, Bey, Day, and Al, are excluded from the Union States Rights Republic, USA, jurisdiction. The true nobles of the Al-Moroccan Empire are sovereign, private, and self-governed, by right, law, principles, and customs, and only obligated to the Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution. Circle 7, archaically established by our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Such extended allegiance and obligation includes the Great Seal and the High Principles in Moral standards, embodied in the Moorish national flag, standard, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The true Al-Moroccan noble indigenes of the land maintain a constitutional and lawful, non-obligatory tax status and position, relative to foreign entity taxation. Indigenes not taxed, and maintain a non-obligatory respect for the Union States rights. Republic, USA, its members, its laws, its ordinances, its codes, its customs and its traditions. Pursuant to the Free Moorish American Zodiac Constitution, Articles 4 and 6, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco 1787, 1787, superseded by the Treaty of 1836, 1836, Resolution 75, Journals of the House of Representatives, United States, April 17, 1933 AD, Moorish American Society of Philadelphia. and the use of their names, the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Child General Assembly Resolution 1386, 14, 14 UNGAORSA, No. 16, at 19, UN Doc. A/4354, 1959. The United Nations Universal Declarations on Human Rights Article 15, General Assembly. Resolution 217A, 3, of 10, December 1948 AD, Executive Order 13107 United States Republic, North America. The implementation of human rights treaties, the National Constitution. For the Continental United States, Article 3, Section 2, Amendment B, Liberty Clause. Amendment 9 Reservation of the Rights of the People, the United States Department of Justice. Moorish Credentials, Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution, Truth A1 Classified, the United States. Copyright Certificate Number A222141 Clock of Destiny, the Moorish Nationality Ind. Identification Card, Moorish Holy Temple of Science/Moorish Science Temple Identification Card, etc. Furthermore, I assert my full birthrights, sovereignty and substantive rights and claim to paradidiments, being a sundry free Moor/Moor in a natural being, pursuant to Moorish pedigree, the Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Great Seal of the Moorish Nation. Abantikyo, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787/1836, the Sundry Free Moors Act of 1790, the 1781 Organic, either by date. Beginning. Notice number 13. Cover letter for recording. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. August 25th, 2023 CCY. MC7T0000000047. MC7TN1082520232. 2. All recorders, clerks, property managers, and consulates to post on public notice. From Moor Circle 7 Temple. Reference number MC7T0000000047. Mail, documents or requests for copies can be submitted to email moorcircle7temple@gmail.com moorcircle7temple@gmail.com. Noble Victor Royce Dukett L. Care of 4045 Boulevard Place near Indianapolis, Indiana Territory zip exempt 46,208. I hereby put all public and private corporations on notice, and require treaty obligations to be made for the Moorish American National de jure Aboriginal Indigenous by Imperial and Aboriginal title proclaim the following. I send this royal notice in honor of my foremothers and forefathers. I am Noble Victor Royce Dukett L., an Aboriginal/Indigenous Moorish American national for the Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish National Republic Federal Government in Morocco, currently domiciling near the Foreign Union Corporate Territory of DeKalb County, Georgia Republic in propria persona, sui juris, heir apparent, heir unconditional, and upon my estate that all recorders are to record for the public record the instruments enclosed within this correspondence in accordance with your fiduciary duties of said public office. The instrument enclosed includes Moor Circle 7 Temple, World Declaration for Aboriginal and Indigenous People, Judicial Notice and Proclamations, Name Declaration, Correction Proclamation, and Publication, Legal Notice Name Declaration, Correction Proclamation, and Publication, Affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, Declaration of Trust, Charter Moorish American Republic, Our Authority, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America and Moor Circle 7 Temple, divinely prepared by the noble Prophet Drew Ali, clear and perfect allodial titles, treaties. Letter from George Washington to Muhammad ibn Abdullah Sultan of Morocco, City of New York, December 1, 1789. Right of protection in Morocco. Moor Circle 7 Temple. World Declaration for Aboriginal and Indigenous People. Wherefore, I, Victor Royce Dukett L, being part and parcel named herein, and our birthright, primogeniture, and inheritance, make a lawful and legal entry of affidavit and public notification of lawful claim and declaration to be published for the public record in the aforementioned case. Chronos. Date, 18 month, March year, 2019. I am, Victor Royce Dukett L. Victor Royce Dukett L., Northwest Amaxime Territory, natural person, in propria persona, sui juris, sui heredes. In solo proprio, authorized representative, all rights reserved, free Moor/Moor. 1. Maintain the laws of the Living Father and the law of nations. 2. Monitor compliance with international treaties, laws, and rights of Aboriginal Moorish American nationals. 3. Proclaim to all corporate governments our presence into these land of our God Allah and acknowledgement of our inviolable divine rights. The Moorish consuls anywhere are responsible for safeguarding and enforcing the laws of nations with respect to the inalienable rights of Moorish American nationals and to guarantee in all respects their most correct application. The domicile is established under Chapter 47, verses 1 through 7, Circle 7 Quran, and its legal patrimony with absolute loyalty and fidelity, excluding all others. Neutral in itinera, ab initio. These cuties are nunc pro tunc from August 1, 1928. Moorish National Republic Federal Government. Societas Republicae al Moor Iconos. Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. Northwest Amaxime/Northwest Africa/North America/the North. Gate. Judicial Notice and Proclamations. Upon my inherited nobility, and upon my private Aboriginal/Indigenous, proper person status, and commercial liability, I, Victor Royce Dukett L., being duly affirmed under consanguinity, pledge my national, political, and spiritual allegiance to my Moabite/Moorish nation, being the archaic Aboriginals/Indigenes of Amaxime, the Americas, standing squarely affirmed upon my oath to the 5 points of light, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, do squarely affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and having knowledge and firmly established belief upon the historical, lawful, and adjudicated facts contained herein, being competent, in my own proper person, to attest to this affidavit upon which I place my signature, whereas, I state, proclaim, and declare the following to be true, correct, certain, complete, not misleading, supreme, and not intended to be presented for any misrepresented, colored, or improper use or purpose, to wit, that I, Victor Royce Dukett L., am a noble of the Al-Moroccan Empire, North America, in propria persona, my own proper self, being Moorish American, a descendant of the ancient Moabites/Moors, by birthright, freehold, primogeniture, and inheritance, being Aboriginal and indigenous to the land/s, Amaxime/Americas, territorium of my ancient Moabite/Moorish foremothers and forefathers, to wit, the Al-Moroccan, American, continents, are the land of the Moors, being North America, South America, Central America, including the adjoining islands, Americana/Amaras/Al-Morocc. I have, acknowledge, claim and possess, by said inheritance and primogeniture, the freehold status thereto, all unalienable and substantive rights, to be, to enjoy, and to act, distinct in my Aboriginal customs and culture, and determining my own political, social, and economic status of the state. Turning my heart and mind back to my ancient mothers and fathers, Moors/Moors, by divine and natural right, being Moorish American, we have and possess the internationally recognized rights to determine our own status of the state absent of threat, coercion, or acquiescence to a color of law, a color of office, nor to be subjected to an imposed color of authority. Moors/Moorish Americans/Moors have, proclaim, and possess the unalienable, substantive rights and birthright, inheritance to our Al-Moroccan names and nationality by nature's laws, divine law, primogeniture, and by the recognized laws of the nations of the earth, international, being the true, ancient, aboriginal/indigenes of the land, America, North, being the heartland of the Moroccan Empire. Moors/Moors are the de jure freeholders by birthright, inheritance and primogeniture status, and have, claim and possess the secured rights to travel upon the public roadways, byways, and highways of our continental United States, the organic land, absent of foreign colored or imposed excise taxation constructs invented by the racketeering states legislators to abridge and steal rights belonging to the natural peoples. These substantive rights are supported by and asserted by royal law, Moorish law, Muslim/Muslim law, the law of the Great Peace, the laws of nature, divine law, nature's God, the laws of nations, the free Moorish Great Seal Zodiac Constitution, and affirmed by Articles 4 and 6 of the Constitution. Covenant of 1774 to 1781 AD equals 1201 MC, as lawfully adopted for the United States Republic, establishing its republican form of government. Said Constitution established the people's supreme law of the land to secure the rights of the people, and to keep government bound and in check by official oath, and by official bond. Down from the ancients ones, our primogenitors, comes the supreme law of the land. Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The Great Seal Pyramid is the national emblem and insignia of the Moorish nation/Empire of North America, geographical location. The Great Pyramid is also the archaic symbol for civilization on the planet Earth. The Honorable Moor's acknowledgement of our Great Seal indicates those heirs who own up to, who support, and who proclaim our free national government. Moors who are active and not passive in the social, civilization, culture and custom matters involving law, order, and governmental principles, are hereby entreated to support this affirmation. Moors/Moors who strive toward this end, with honor, are entrusted by Noble Drew Ali, to help in the great humanitarian work of uplifting ourselves, our fellow man, and humanity at large. We seek, at all times, to be conscious of the works, instructions, and acts necessary to teach, preserve, and defend the birthrights of all Moorish Americans, Al-Moroccans, etc. The noble Moors/Moors, heirs apparent, are the natural members/citizens of the ancient Al-Moroccan Empire, North America, and are duty-bound to recognize and to support our great Seal sovereign Moorish government and nation of the natural people, and command the enforcement of our Constitution. Thus, such organized communication orders are referred to as the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs. The Free Moorish Nation, inclusive of all the aboriginal/indigene tribes and provinces of the natural people, etc., are the rightful bearers of the names and titles Ali, El, Bey, Day, and Al. The Free Moors/Moors, by freehold inheritance, retain all substantive rights and immunities, enjoy the exercising of substantive rights, and operate upon consummated, right law, isonomy, principles, having vested constitution, secured rights and immunities from taxation, and from criminal and civil jurisdiction by, and of, the Union States Rights Republic, USA, pursuant to, but not limited to, the United States Republic Supreme Court, and the Acts of State to wit. Every sovereign state, people, is bound to respect the independence of every other sovereign state, people, and the courts of one country, people, will not sit in judgment on the acts of the government of another, done within the same or its own territory. The present Union States municipal and civil laws and codes of the land are an incorporated unit of self-government established by the political powers of the General Assembly of each state of the Union, and initiated at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, North America, in the year 1854. 1854, it governs only the rights and conduct of white people, Christians, and Jews. Of the 1863, 1863, Union States Rights Republic, under the Magna Carta, Charter, the Knights of Columbus Code, and the Ku Klux Klan Oath. Forever said Union States Rights. Republic denies citizenship in the United States Republic, USA, to the descendants of the Moorish nation in the Western Hemisphere, erroneously referred to, and branded and mislabeled as Negroes, blacks, coloreds, and African Americans, etc., etc. In addition, the Supreme Court of the United States, in the landmark case of Dred Scott v. Sandford, 60 U.S., 19 Howard, 393, 1857, held that Negroes whether held to slavery or free were not included and were not intended to be included in the category of citizen, subjects, of the Union States Rights Republic. Resultantly, the true indigene nobles of the Al-Moroccan Empire, free Moors, bearers of the names/titles Ali, Al, Bey, Dey, and Al, are excluded from the Union States Rights Republic, USA, jurisdiction. The true nobles of the Al-Moroccan Empire are sovereign, private, and self-governed, by right, law, principles, and customs, and only obligated to the Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution. Circle 7, archaically established by our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Such extended allegiance and obligation includes the Great Seal and the High Principles and Morale standards, embodied in the Moorish national flag, standard, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The true Al-Moroccan noble indigenes of the land maintain a constitutional and lawful, non-obligatory tax status and position, relative to foreign entity taxation. Indigenes not taxed, and maintain a non-obligatory respect for the Union States rights. Republic, USA, its members, its laws, its ordinances, its codes, its customs and its traditions. Pursuant to the Free Moorish American Zodiac Constitution, Articles 4 and 6, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco 1787, 1787, superseded by the Treaty of 1836, 1836, Resolution 75, Journals of the House of Representatives, United States, April 17, 1933 AD, Moorish American Society of Philadelphia, and the use of their names, the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Child General Assembly Resolution 1386, 14, 14 UNGAOR Sup. No. 16, at 19, UN Doc. A/4354, 1959. The United Nations Universal Declarations on Human Rights Article 15, General Assembly. Resolution 217A, 3, of 10, December 1948 AD, Executive Order 13107 United States Republic, North America. The implementation of human rights treaties, the National Constitution. For the Continental United States, Article 3, Section 2, Amendment B, Liberty Clause. Amendment 9 Reservation of the Rights of the People, the United States Department of Justice. Moorish Credentials, Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution, Truth A1 Classified, the United States. Copyright Certificate Number A2222141 Clock of Destiny, the Moorish Nationality and Identification Card, Moorish Holy Temple of Science/Moorish Science Temple Identification Card, etc. Furthermore, I assert my full birthrights, sovereignty and substantive rights and claim to hereditaments, being a sundry free Moor/Moor and a natural being, pursuant to Moabite/Moorish pedigree, the Free Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Great Seal of the Moorish Nation of Antiquio, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787/1836, the Sundry Free Moors Act of 1790, the 1781 Organic United States Constitution, the Moorish Federal Financiers Act, Union States Army, 1861-1863, the 1854 Roman Catholic Magna Carta, the Knights of Columbus Code, the Ku Klux Klan Oath, the United Nations Charter, Article 55, c. The Rights of Indigenous People, Part I, Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Part 2, Article 6, the United States Supreme Court. Acts of State, the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act 28 U.S.C. 1601, et sequa, the Convention on International Road Traffic Day 19, September 1949, the World Court Decision, The Hague, Netherlands, Day 21, January 1958 AD equals 1378 MC. In reference to the rights of the natural people and substantive rights, etc., the following are pertinent Supreme Court decisions, stare decisis, to wit. 1. The right to travel, the right to mode of conveyance, the right to locomotion are all absolute rights, and the police cannot make void the exercise of rights. State v. Armstead, 60s. 778, 779, and 781. 2. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and natural beings cannot be deprived. Chicago Motor Coach v. Chicago 337 Illinois 200, 169 NE 22, ALR, Laguerre v. Chicago 139 Ill. 46, 2080 934, Boone v. Clark 214 SW 607, 25 AM Jur. 1st, Highways, Sector 163. 3. The right to park or travel is part of the liberty of which the natural person, citizen cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Kent v. Dulles 357 U.S. 116, 125. 4. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport one's property thereon, either by carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege, which a city may prohibit or permit at will, but a common right, which he/she has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thompson v. Smith 154 SC 579. 5. State police power extends only to immediate threats to public safety, health, welfare, etc. Michigan v. Duke 266 U.S. 476 led. At 449, which driving and speeding are not. California v. Farley said. RPT 89, 20 CA3 RD 1032, 1971. 6. The state is prohibited from violating substantive rights. Owens v. City, 445 U.S. 662, 1980. And it cannot do by one power, e.g. police power, that which is, for example, prohibited expressly to any other such power, e.g. taxation/eminent domain, as a matter of law. U.S. and UTV Daniels. 22 p. 159, nor indirectly that which is prohibited to it directly. Fairbanks v. U.S. 181, U.S. 283, 294. 300. 7. Traveling in an automobile on the public roads was not a threat to the public safety or health, and constituted no hazard to the public, and such a traveler owed no other duty to the public, e.g. the state, he/she in his/her auto, having equal right to and on the roadways/highways as horses and wagons, etc. This same right is still substantive rule, in that speeding, running stop signs, traveling without license plates, or registration, are not threats to the public safety, and thus, are not arrestable offenses. Christie v. Elliott, 216 I 131, 74 He 1035, LRINS 1905-1910, California v. Farley 98 said RPT 89, 20 CA 3D 1032, 1971. 8. Under the United States Republic's constitutional system of government and upon the individuality and intelligence of the citizen, the state does not claim to control one's conduct to others, leaving one the sole judge as to all that affects oneself. Mueller v. Kansas 1213 U.S. 623, 659 to 60. 9. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rule, making or legislation, which would abrogate them. Miranda v. Arizona 384 U.S. 436, 125. 10. The claim and exercise of constitutional rights cannot be converted into a crime. Miller v. Kansas 230 F. 2nd 486, 489. 11. For a crime to exist, there must be an injured party, corpus delicti. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed on one because of this constitutional right. Scherer v. Cullen 481 F. 945. 12. If any tribunal, court, finds absence of proof of jurisdiction over a person and subject matter, the case must be dismissed. Louisville v. Motley 211 U.S. 149, 29s. CT 42. The accuser bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. 13. Lack of federal jurisdiction cannot be waived or overcome by agreement of parties. Griffin v. Matthews, 310 F. Super 341, 342, 1969. And want of jurisdiction may not be cured by consent of parties. Industrial Edition Association BC.IR, 323 U.S. 310, 313. Whereas, in light of the foregoing jurisprudence stare decisis Supreme Court decisions, facts and law, and counter to the negative and colorable social conditions instituted by state persons of the Union States Society, there exists a blatant want of jurisdiction on the part of the Union States Rights Republic, USA, its agents, personnel, contractors, and assigns. Axioms are legally in force under national and international law attending these issues. And this affiant natural person, in propria persona, does not waive any rights, does not transfer power of attorney, and does not willingly consent to any public trial or hearing in any colorable tribunal venue or non-Article 3, unconstitutional jurisdiction. The official oaths, the obligations, and the fiduciary duties of all accusers and bound claimants to national law and order, civilization principles, fixed in Constitution law, still stands. Definition and truth still rules. Non-compliance is a federal and international law offense. Whereas, there is no question that a bench appearance summons, detention, arrest and ticket or citation issued by a police officer or others for traveling with no driver's license, foreign driver's license, not having current registration, or mandatory insurance, etc., which carries a fine or jail time, is a penalty or sanction and is indeed converting a right into a crime, thus violating substantive rights. It is reasonable to assume that these Supreme Court judicial decisions are straight and to the point, that there is no lawful method for government to put restrictions or limitations on rights belonging to the people, that the organic United States Republic Constitution, derived from ancient Moabite/Moorish law, remains the supreme law of the land, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States flag of peace, pursuant to United States Code, Title 4, Chapter 1. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution, shall remain forever colorable and is null and void. Marbury v. Madison 5 U.S. 137, 174, 176, 1803. Any municipal officer, person, personnel, employee, or contractor who violate the rights of the people or citizens are subject to suit in their personal and/or official capacity to wit. Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 13 241 of United States Codes of Law. If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised the same, or if two or more persons go in disguise on the highway, or on the premises of another, with the intent to prevent or hinder his free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, and if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to kill, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 13 242 of United States Codes of Law. Whoever, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties, on account of such person being an alien, or by reason of his color, or race, that are prescribed for the citizens, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both, and if bodily injury results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include the use, attempted use, or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, explosives, or fire, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Therefore, in preservation of the rights of indigenous peoples and the preservation of the rights of the people, in accord and defense of the Constitution for the United States Republic of North America and its Republican form of government, being the supreme law of the land, and primal to the contractual liabilities, oath, bound obligations, and fiduciary duties of the officers of the courts, federal, state, city, and municipal, etc., I hereby demand the enforcement of the de jure laws of the United States, and all treaties made under the authority of the United States, in accord with Article 6 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations Charter, Article 55, c. the United States Supreme Court, Acts of State, the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act 28 U.S.C. 1601, et sequa, the Convention on International Road Traffic Day 19, September 1949, the World Court Decisions, The Hague, Netherlands, Day 21. January 1958 AD equals 1378 MC, and Executive Order 13107, United States Republic, North America, the implementation of human rights treaties, the National Constitution for the Continental United States, Article 3, Section 2, Amendment B, Liberty Clause, Amendment 9, etc., etc. I hereby demand a dismissal of any and all unconstitutional sanctions, claims, or other warrants or charges made or issued, which are devoid of true identity personages, a denial of due process of a trial by a jury of my own national peers, or absent of a verified and lawful indictment, sanctioned by an assembled grand jury, and that I be availed all lawful constitutional secured safeguards, established by the supreme law, with documented proper jurisdiction and venue confirmed and in place. Wherefore all parties of interest are authorized by this writ, pursuant to national and international law, to honor all substantive rights and constitutional immunities reserved for, and to this Aboriginal/Indigenous free and sovereign moor/moor star. All officials are to enlist all available and appropriate measures to ensure and assure that all my substantive rights and constitutionally secured rights and immunities are not violated, not breached, nor abridged. A sovereign, natural being, named herein, is not to be arrested nor held for detention under any colorable circumstances. You are to notify the active ministers of the Aboriginal/Indigenous Moorish nationals of the territory, organic land. The natural person named herein is non-obligatory, and thus exempt from customs, tariffs, taxation, owner and fee permit deception, constructs, and from any other hindrance or restriction of his or her freedoms, allodial properties, compensations, rights of travel, or freedom of movement on, in, or within, any member or non-member states of the United States Union, etc. The moor/moor, bearer of this indigenous peoples document, is to be treated with all due respect and due process rights under the law. All available and appropriate measures are to be taken to prevent injustice, harm, false arrest, trumped up charges, or attack on the natural being's person, property, personality, conveyances, freedoms, and/or dignity. Explicit reservation and use of all rights reserved without prejudice UCC 1207/308. UCC 1 to 103, is noted to all federal, state, city, and municipal peace officers, in harmony with state statutes, and indicates the reservation of my rights, whereby I may reserve my substantive rights and constitutional, secured rights and immunities to not be compelled to perform under any contracts or agreements that I have not entered into knowingly, voluntarily, willingly, or unintentionally. I do not accept any actual or implied liabilities associated with any compelled benefits of any unrevealed or deceptively imposed commercial contracts. I, furthermore, do not sanction any unconstitutional rules or policies, nor acts of misprision, committed by any U.S. government or state officials, at any level, claimed by any of them, in the name of the United States Republic, nor do I assent to any implied colorable policies made by alleged representatives, as being sanctioned by the people and citizens. Consider any formerly assumed constructs alleged to be related to me as being misrepresentations and thusly cured. Forthwith, let it be known. Represent means to depict, to portray, to symbolize and to stand for. Let it be known that the Union States Society Bar Association lawyers, esquires, and attorneys of European, colonial descent, and foreign corporation, cannot depict, portray, or symbolize a free Moor, as they are not of the same nation, jurisdiction, customs, or national peers, and cannot sit in judgment of any free Moor acts of state. Europeans are not indigenes to the land, Americas. Moors are aboriginal. Union States lawyers and attorneys operate in demo, political format, which is contrary to Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution for the United States. Moors operate in a republican form of government, conjoined with isonomy principles, being in harmony with the Constitution. Moors respect Constitution principles. The unconstitutional tribunals operating under the Union States Society conflicts with, and is repugnant to, due process under Constitution principles, and functions primarily in colorable procedures. Therefore, no fair, just trial, or remedy is availed to the natural peoples of the land, through such colorable processes. These violating acts constitute a conflict of interest, a conflict of law, and clearly establishes a federal questions of diversity of citizenship, a conflict of identity, and of nationality, etc. Thus, a clear averment of jurisdiction is also hereby proclaimed and advanced. Only Moors can present and depict themselves as being Moors/Al Moroccans, and Aboriginal/Indigenes of the land. Thus, only Moors can present self. I, Victor Royce Dukett L., a real, live flesh and blood, breathing, non-fictional, and natural being, born of a natural mother, do solemnly, sincerely, and squarely affirm that the foregoing facts contained in this constructive and actual judicial notice and proclamation, by affirmed affidavit, are true, to the best of my knowledge, culture, customs, and beliefs, being actual, correct, not misleading, etc., and being the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Hibu, love, pact, truth, salam, peace, hurriyatan, freedom, ADL, justice. All rights reserved without prejudice. UCC 1 to 207/308, UCC 1 to 103. I am, Victor Royce Dukett L., natural person, in propria persona, authorized representative, all rights reserved. Aboriginal/Indigenous, free sovereign Moor, natural person of the land, in propria persona. Not pro-se nor colorable. The Moorish divine and national movement of the world. Legal notice. Name declaration, correction proclamation, and publication. I, Victor Royce Dukett L., being duly affirmed, standing squarely, declare, and proclaim, upon divine law, nature's law, universal law, Moorish birthrights, international law, and constitutional law, declare and say. I, being previously identified by the Union States Society of North America, USA under the colorable, wardship name, Victor Royce Dukett, do hereby refute the fraud, make public and publish my corrected national name, declare and affirm my true, proper person status, and reclaim my rightful social and cultural life of the state, in accord with my Moorish nation of Northwest Amaxime/North America, acknowledging my birthrights. Having lawfully and legally obtained and proclaimed my Moorish nationality and birthright name and title, in harmony with, in association with, and in accord with divine law, the customs, and the laws, rules, and usages of the Moorish divine and national movement, being aboriginal and indigenous, and bound to the North American continent by heritage, by primogeniture, by birthright, by natural birth, by freehold, and by inheritance. Declared for the public record, I am returning the European cognomen and fictitious misnomer back to the colonial possessors of its pedigree. I am now rightfully declaring, publishing, and proclaiming my own free national name, affirming my actual, rightful, and civil and full life status, conjoined to my Moorish American consanguine pedigree and national honor. Let it be declared, known, published, and resolved that I am Victor Royce Dukett L. in propria persona sui juris, being in my own proper person, by birthright, an inheritance without the foreign, imposed color of law, or assumed due process of the Union States Society, pursuant to, but not limited to, 1. Free Moorish American Zodiac Constitution. Zodiac Constitution and Birthrights of the Moorish Americans, being Ali, Bay, L, Day, and L. Article 2, 2, Paragraph 2, 2. 2. United States Republic, Department of Justice. Moorish American Credentials, AA 222141 Truth A1. 3. United States Supreme Court, Supreme Law, Acts of State. 4. United States Constitution, Article 3, 3, Section 2, 2, Amendment B, 5, Liberty Clause, and Amendment 9, 9, Reservation of the Rights of the People. 5. Resolution Number 75, 75 dated April 17, 1933 AD, Moorish American Society of Philadelphia and the use of their names. 6. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, United Nations, Human Rights Article 15, 15. 7. Rights of Indigenous Peoples, United Nations, General Assembly, Part 1, Article 4. Wherefore, I, Victor Royce Dukett L., being part and parcel named herein, and by birthright, primogeniture, and inheritance, make a lawful and legal entry of affidavit and public notification of nationality proclamation, name correction claim, declaration, affirmation, and application, herewith published for the public record. I am, Noble Victor Royce Dukett L. Northwest Amaxime, Northwest Africa, North America, the North Gate. Moorish National Republic, Federal Government. Societas Republici e al Moor Iconos. Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. Northwest Amaxime / Northwest Africa / North America / the North Gate. Sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and for whom all government exists and acts. And the law is the definition and limitation of power. Yick Wovey Hopkins. 118 U.S. 356, 370. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. United States of America 1789/1791 and the United States Codes, Title 18, Part I, Chapter 13, Section 241 and Section 242. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution is not confined to the protection of citizens. It says, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. These provisions are universal in their application to all persons within the territorial jurisdiction, without regard to any differences of race, of color, or of nationality, and the equal protection of the laws is a pledge of the protection of equal laws. It is accordingly enacted by 1977 of the revised statutes, that all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and exactions of every kind, and to no other. The questions we have to consider and decide in these cases, therefore, are to be treated as invoking the rights of every citizen of the United States equally with those of the strangers and aliens who now invoke the jurisdiction of the court. It is contended on the part of the petitioners that the ordinances for violations of which they are severally sentenced to imprisonment are void on their face as being within the prohibitions of the 14th Amendment, and, in the alternative, if not so, that they are void by reason of their administration, operating unequally so as to punish in the present petitioners what is permitted to others as lawful, without any distinction of circumstances and unjust and illegal discrimination, it is claimed, which, though not made expressly by the ordinances, is made possible by them. When we consider the nature and the theory of our institutions of government, the principles upon which they are supposed P370 to rest, and review the history of their development, we are constrained to conclude that they do not mean to leave room for the play and action of purely personal and arbitrary power. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law, but, in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself remains with the people, by whom and for whom all government exists and acts. And the law is the definition and limitation of power. It is, indeed, quite true that there must always be lodged somewhere, and in some person or body, the authority of final decision, and in many cases of mere administration, the responsibility is purely political, no appeal lying except to the ultimate tribunal of the public judgment, exercised either in the pressure of opinion or by means of the suffrage. But the fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, considered as individual possessions, are secured by those maxims of constitutional law which are the monuments showing the victorious progress of the race in securing to men the blessings of civilization under the reign of just and equal laws, so that, in the famous language of the Massachusetts Bill of Rights, the government of the Commonwealth may be a government of laws, and not of men. For the very idea that one man may be compelled to hold his life, or the means of living, or any material right essential to the enjoyment of life at the mere will of another seems to be intolerable in any country where freedom prevails, as being the essence of slavery itself. Moorish National Republic Federal Government. Societas Republicae al Mooricanos. Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. Northwest Amaxime / Northwest Africa / North America / the North Gate. Temple of the Moon and Sun. The true integer natural peoples, heirs of the land. ISLAM. Affidavit of the National Trust. Of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government. For the public record, on the public record and let the public record show. This affidavit of the National Trust of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government is hereby placed on the public record for all to witness on this Tuesday, 18th day of December 2018. We, the Aboriginal, Indigenous Moorish American nationals at North America are the descendants of the Pharaohs, of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. We are forever in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio haeredes at all points in time. We are exercising all of our sovereign divine rights at this time and at all times. We are the sovereign heirs, executors, administrators, creditors, claimants, and beneficiaries of our vast estate. We hereby claim, proclaim, declare, nationalize, and place in divine, foreign, international, private trust all that we are heirs to as aforementioned and including but not limited to all land in the Western Hemisphere, all oil, water, gold, silver, minerals, crops, and all other natural resources and portable land and all structures and infrastructures at North, South, Central America, and the adjoining islands. All stateless persons branded as Negro, Black, Colored and African American. All gold, silver and portable land-backed lawful coinage and tender. We affirm the following documents as part and parcel of the trust document. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science by the Noble Prophet Drew Ali, 1926. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1786 and 1836. The Declaration of Independence. The Articles of the Confederation. The Constitution for the United States 1791. The Notice of Intent to Lien and Arrest Command September 11, 18. Document number 7018 2290 0000 1227 4911. Additionally, we declare, proclaim and enforce our sovereign rights to travel freely on our own land, to self-govern autonomously and to adjudicate judicially within our own nations and among our own peers free of molestation, violation, and encumbrance by all foreigners. No one speaks for us, we speak for ourselves. No one represents us, we present ourselves. We do now exercise our sovereign right to distribute from the United States Treasury our own national lawful currency, coinage, and tender here on our land, first to the Moorish American nationals, and second to the indigenous nations of the earth. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Any misuse, subrogation, or fraudulent use of this document by any corporation, their principals, agents, or assigns are hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Nothing in this affidavit shall be interpreted as consent to any jurisdiction that is not in the jurisdiction of my ancient ancestral inherited estate at any time. MC7TN1070420223 MC7TMACMR 000000000001 MC7T00000000047. The Moors at North America are a free national government as an ecclesiastical body politic. Affidavit of Organization, Document Number 10105905, Form 1099 recorded in the Recorder of Deeds Office in the County of Cook, State of Illinois on August 1, 1928 AD at 2:52 p.m. Moor Circle 7 Temple. Declaration of Trust. Whereas, the ancient Diuri Aboriginal Indigenous Divine Living Natural Moabite Moorish American Victor Royce Dukett L. of the land at North America, Northwest Amaxim, North Africa, the North Gate is the trust corpus of this de jure ecclesiastically commissioned express trust. Victor Royce Dukett L. is the executor, settler, claimant, and beneficiary of all said trust property. Whereas Victor Royce Dukett L., in propria persona sui juris and in solo proprio is the trustee for the affairs of this de jure ecclesiastically commissioned trust upon the land at North America, Northwest Amaxim, North Africa, the North Gate. While his heirs are the beneficiaries, they are neither partners nor agents of the said trust. Any and all benefits or privileges from any government that is not the Moorish National Republic Federal Government or Moor Circle 7 Temple will not be received into this trust instrument of exchange. Therefore no duty is owed to any other government or outside party by this trust, its beneficiaries, executors, settlers, claimants, trustees, nor the Moorish American people. This traditional, pure vast estate express trust is active and functioning in the pattern where property is conveyed by will, deed, or declaration to a trustee. It is not an association. In accordance with Article 1 Section 10 of the Constitution for the United States Republic, written by the ancestors of the Moorish America people, this express trust may enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, it may grant letters of marque and reprisal, it may coin money, it may emit bills of credit, it may not make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, it may pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, and law impairing the obligation of contracts. And it may grant any title of nobility. This express trust is created by the natural right to contract which cannot be abridged and is protected under federally enforceable right of contract law and not under any laws passed by any of the several state legislatures. It is not subject to legislative control nor legislative restrictions, does not depend on any statutes and is within the realm of equity, having a separate and distinct juridical personality. This trust is unalienable and inalienable. Signature and seals. By special appearance, in honor, the divine being, Victor Royce Dukett L., affirms that he/she is the natural person/divine being herein named, existing in his/her own proper person, meeting that a law of evidence is required and defined in identity, affirmed by lawful, substantive right, by birthright, and respectively acknowledged, being lawfully qualified and competent to execute this document. I therefore place my hand and seal thereto. Chronos, day, 1 month, June year, 2018. I am Victor Royce Dukett L. Desire/Minister, natural person, in propria persona, authorized representative, all rights reserved. Free Moor/Moor Northwest Amaxim/Northwest Africa/North America. The end. Under the authority declared, recorded and published on the Form 1099, Document Number 10,105,905, Cook County Book 521, page 579, August 1, 1928, The Holy Quran Circle 7, Chapter 47, Constitution and Bylaw of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Religious Corporation Act, 805 ILCS 110/ Conveyances Act, 765 ILCS 5/ Notice by Publication Act, 715 ILCS 5/ the original Moorish Charter of the Honorable Noble Drew Ali entitled to his vast estate express trust, Form 1099, Document Number 10,105,905, Cook County Book 521, page 579, August 1, 1928, National Archives Record Group 147, Copy Book 521, and page file number 5 to 39, U.S. Department of Defense, File 1 to 17, Indigenous Freeholder and Creditor, Hierarchical Code R1.01.052.004, Federal Code 667, Federal Code 463, the Moroccan Treaty of Friendship and Peace 1787, 1836 and 1986, U.S.C. Title 28. Part 4, Chapter 97 Subsection 1603, Jurisdictional Immunities of Foreign States, U.S.C. Title 28, Part 4, Chapter 97, Subsection 1604, Immunities of a Foreign States from Jurisdiction, United States, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act of 1976, Public Law 94 to 583, Immunities of a Foreign States from Jurisdiction, Public Law 106 to 55, International Religious Freedom Act, Public Law 107 to 228, Foreign Relations Authorization Act, Fiscal Year 2003, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of April 18, 1961, the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations of April 24, 1963 and the Hague Convention of October 5, 1961, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, United Nations Resolution 61/295, Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and United Nations Resolution 60/147, Right to a Remedy in Reparation for Victims of Gross Violations of International Human Rights Law and Serious Violation of International Humanitarian Law. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and Moor Circle 7 Temple, divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Drew Ali, by the guiding of his Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life, with his Father God, Allah. Noble Drew Ali, the prophet and founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to redeem the people from their sinful ways. Know thyself, and thy Father God, Allah. The genealogy of Yahshua with 18 years of the events, life, works and teachings in India, Europe and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all of those who love Yahshua and desire to know about his life, works and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace and happiness for all those that love Yahshua. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity, as I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world, and when the time appointed by Allah they loosened the keys and freed the secrets, and for the first time in ages have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927, by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. The industrious acts of the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan, by Joshua, and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Chapter I. The Creation and Fall of Man. Time never was when man was not. If life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be because there was a time when they were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change, yet, from the finite point of view the time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body, nor the soul, he is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate gave to man, to spirit man, a soul that he might function on the plane of soul, gave him a body of the flesh, that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. Why did creative fate give to spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul? Why did creative fate give to soul a body of the flesh that he might function on the plane of things that are made manifest? Here, now, yet worlds, dominions, powers and thrones. Here, now, yet cherubim, yet seraphim, yet angels and yet men. Here, now, O protoplast, and earth, and plant and beast. Here, now, yet creeping things of earth, yet fish that swim, yet birds that fly. Here, now, yet winds that blow, yet thunders and yet lightnings of the sky. Here, now, ye spirits of the fire, of water, earth, and air. Here, now, O everything that is, or was, or evermore will be, for wisdom speaks from out of the highest plane of spirit life. Man is a thought of Allah, all thoughts of Allah are infinite, they are not measured up by time, for things that are concerned with time, begin and end. The thoughts of Allah are the everlasting of the past unto the never-ending days to come. And so is man, the spirit man. But man, like every other thought of Allah, was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah, just as the seed of any plant of earth holds deep within itself the attributes of every part of that especial plant. So spirit man, as seed of Allah, held deep within himself the attributes of every part of God. Now, seed are perfect, yet, as perfect as the source from which they come, but they are not unfolded into life made manifest. The child is as perfect as the mother is. So man, the seed, must be deep planted in a soil that he might grow, unfold, as does the bud unfold to show the flower. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah was full ordained to be the Lord of plane of soul, and of the plane of things made manifest. So Allah, the husbandman of everything that is, threw forth this human seed into the soil of soul, it grew apace, and man became a living soul, and he became the Lord of all the kingdom of the soul. Hark, now. Let every creature hear, the plane of soul is but the ether of the spirit plane vibrating not so fast, and in the slower rhythm of this plane the essences of life are manifest, the perfumes and the odors, the true sensations and the all of love are manifest. And these soul attributes become a body beautiful. A multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul, and here he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. Upon the boundary of the plane of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then the essences took on a final garb, the perfumes and the odors and the true sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh, and man was clothed in flesh. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a carnal nature was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things. Without a foe a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let every living thing stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights, just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yet, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh, and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served its purpose well, and it will fall, will be no more. Then he will stand untrammeled on the plane of soul, where he must full complete his victories. Unnumbered foes will stand before man upon the plane of soul, these he must overcome, yet, overcome them every one. Thus hope will ever be his beacon light, there is no failure for the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Man cannot die, the spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives man cannot die. When man has conquered every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have full opened out, will have unfolded in the holy breath. The garb of soul will then have served its purpose well, and man will need it nevermore, and it will pass and be no more, and man will then attain unto the blessedness of perfectness and be at one with Allah. Chapter 2. Education of Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan, Egypt. One, the son of Herod, Archelaus, reigned in Jerusalem. He was a selfish, cruel king. He put to death all those who did not honor him. 2, he called in council all the wisest men and asked about the infant claimant to his throne. 3, the council said that John and Joshua both were dead, then he was satisfied. 4, now Joseph, Mary, and their son were down in Egypt in Zoan, and John was with his mother in the Judean hills. 5, Elihu and Salome sent messengers in haste to find Elizabeth and John. They found them. They brought them to Zoan. 6, now Mary and Elizabeth were marveling much because of their deliverance. 7 Elihu said, "It is not strange, there are no happenings, law governs all events." 8 From olden times it was ordained that you should be with us and in this sacred school be taught. 9 Elihu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out to the sacred grove nearby where they were wont to teach. 10 Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, "You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons." 11 Who are ordained to lay a solid rock as sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. 12 We measure time by cycle ages, and the gate to every age we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. 13 An age has passed, the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah in man. 14 And these, your sons, will be the first to tell the news, and teach the gospel of good will to men, and peace on earth. 15 A mighty work is theirs, for carnal men want not the light, they love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark they comprehend it not. 16 We call these sons revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. 17 And you must teach your sons, and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. 18 Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. 19 Teach that the holy breath would make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. 20 That naught can make them one but love, that Allah so loved the world that he has clothed his Son in flesh that man may comprehend. 21 The only Savior of the world is love, and Yahshua, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to men. 22 Now, love cannot manifest until its way has been prepared, and naught can rend the rock, and bring down lofty hills and fill the valleys up, and thus prepare the way, but purity. 23 But purity in life men do not comprehend, and so, it, too, come in flesh. 24 And you, Elizabeth, are blessed because yours is purity made flesh, and he shall pave the way for love. 25 This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love, but not a word is lost. For in the book of Allah's remembrance a registry is made of every thought and word and deed. 26 And when the world is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open the book, and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. 27 Then every man of earth will read the words of life in language of his native land, and men will see the light, walk in the light and be the light. 28 And man again will be at one with Allah. Chapter 3 Elihu's Lessons, the Unity of Life. 1 Again Elihu met his pupils in the sacred grove and said, 2 No man lives unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. 3 Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. 4 They will not do to other men what they would not have other men do unto them. 5 There are 2 selves, the higher and the lower self. 6 The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. 7 The lower self, the carnal self, the body of desires, is a reflection of higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. 8 The lower self is an illusion and will pass away, the higher self is Allah in man, and will not pass away. 9 The higher self is the embodiment of truth, the lower self is truth reversed and so is falsehood manifest. 10 The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right, the lower self is what the higher self is not. 11 The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms, the higher self is mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life. 12 The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace, it offers pleasure, joy and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. 13 It gives men apples that are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell, their cores are full of bitterness and gall. 14 If you would ask me what to study, I would say, yourselves, and when you well have studied them, and then would ask me what to study next, I would reply, yourselves. 15 He who knows well his lower self, knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away, and he who knows his higher self, know Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. 16 Thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own, he has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. 17 men seek salvation from an evil that they deem a living monster of the nether world, and they have gods that are but demons in disguise, all-powerful, yet full of jealousy and hate and lust. 18 whose favors must be bought with costly sacrifice of fruits, and of the lives of birds, and animals, and humankind. 19 and yet these gods possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. 20 this evil is a myth, these gods are made of air, clothed with shadows of a thought. 21 the only devil from which men must be redeemed is self, the lower self. If man would find his devil he must look within, his name is self. 22 if man would find his savior he must look within, and when the demon self has been dethroned the savior,
It's 9:15 a.m.
will be exalted to the throne of power. 23 the David of the light is purity, who slays the strong Goliath of the dark, and seats the Savior, love, upon the throne. Chapter 4. Death and Burial of Elizabeth Mathenose Lessons the Ministry of Death. 1 When John was 12 years old his mother died, and neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground, and near to Zachariah's tomb. 2 And John was deeply grieved, he wept. Mathenose said, it is not well to weep because of death. 3 Death is no enemy of man, it is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. 4 No language can describe a mother's worth, and yours was tried and true. But she was not called hence until her tasks were done. 5 The calls of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. 6 It is but selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. 7 Then let your mother rest in peace. Just let her noble life be strength and inspiration unto you. 8 A crisis in your life has come, and you must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do. 9 The sages of the ages call you harbinger. The prophets look to you and say, he is Elijah. Come again. 10 Your mission here is that of harbinger, for you will go before the Messiah's face to pave his way, and make the people ready to receive their king. 11 This readiness is purity of heart, none but the pure in heart can recognize the king. 12 To teach men to be pure in heart, you must yourself be pure in heart and word and deed. 13 In infancy the vow for you was made and you became a Nazarite. The razor shall not touch your face nor head, and you shall taste not wine nor fiery drinks. 14 Men need a pattern for their lives, they love to follow, not to lead. 15 The man who stands upon the corners of the paths and points the way, but does not go, is just a pointer, and a block of wood can do the same. 16 The teacher treads the way, on every span of ground he leaves his footprints, clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, their master went that way. 17 Men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do. They come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. 18 And so when you would make men know that sins are washed away by purity in life, a right symbolic may be introduced. 19 In water wash the bodies of the people who would turn away from sin and strive for purity in life. 20 This rite of cleansing is a preparation rite, and they who thus are cleansed comprise the temple of purity. 21 And you shall say, you men of Israel, hear, reform and wash, become the sons of purity, and you shall be forgiven. 22 This rite of cleansing and this temple are but symbolic of the cleansing of the soul, which does not come from outward show, but is the temple within. 23 Now, you may never point the way and tell the multitudes to do what you have never done, but you must go before and show the way. 24 You are to teach that men must wash, so you must lead the way, your body must be washed, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul. 25 John said, why need I wait? May I not go at once and wash? 26 Mathenose said, 'Tis well, and then they went down to the Jordan ford, and east of Jericho, just where the host of Israel crossed when first they entered Canaan, they tarried for a time. 27 Mathenose taught the harbinger, and he explained to him the inner meaning of the cleansing rite and how to wash himself and how to wash the multitude. 28 And in the river Jordan, John was washed, then they returned unto the wilderness. 29 Now in Enchedi's hills Matheno's work was done, and he and John went down to Egypt. They rested not until they reached the temple of Saqqara in the valley of the Nile. 30 For many years, Matheno was a master in this temple of the Brotherhood, and when he told about the life of John and of his mission to the sons of men, the Hierophant with joy received the harbinger, and he was called the Brother Nazarite. 31 For 18 years John lived and wrought within these temple gates, and here he conquered self, became a mastermind, and learned the duties of the harbinger. Chapter V. After the feast, the homeward journey, the missing Joshua, the search for him. His parents find him in the temple. He goes with them to Nazareth. Symbolic meaning of carpenter's tools. 1 The great feast of the Pasch was ended, and the Nazarenes were journeying toward their homes. 2 And they were in Samaria, and Mary said, "Where is my son?" No one had seen the boy. 3 And Joseph sought among their kindred who were on their way to Galilee, but they had seen him not. 4 Then Joseph, Mary, and a son of Zebedee returned and sought through all Jerusalem, but they could find him not. 5 And Mary asked the guards had they seen Joshua, a little boy about 12 years old. 6 The guards replied, "Yes, he is in the temple now disputing with the doctors of the law." 7 And they went in, and found him as the guards had said. 8 And Mary said, "Why, Joshua, why do you treat your parents thus? Lo, we have sought 2 days for you. We feared that some great harm had overtaken you." 9 And Joshua said, "Do you not know that I must be about my father's work?" 10 But he went round and pressed the hand of every doctor of the law and said, "I trust that we meet again." 11 And then he went forth with his parents on their way to Nazareth, and when they reached their home he wrought with Joseph as a carpenter. 12 One day as he was bringing forth the tools for work he said, 13 These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character. 14 We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square. 15 We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. 16 We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. 17 We use the hammer to drive home the truth, and pound it in until it is a part of every part. 18 We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint, and block, and board that go to build the temple for the truth. 19 The chisel, line, the plummet and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. 20 And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope and love, on it we climb up to the dome of purity in life. 21 And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build the temple of perfected man. Chapter 6. Life and works of Joshua in India among the Muslims. 1 A royal prince of India, Ravana in the south, was at the Jewish feast. 2 Ravana was a man of wealth, and he was just, and with a band of Brahmic priests sought wisdom in the west. 3 When Joshua stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravana heard and was amazed. 4 And when he asked who Joshua was, from whence he came and what he was, Chief Hillel said, 5 We call this child the day star from on high, for he has come to bring to men a light, the light of life, to lighten up the way of men and to redeem his people of Israel. 6 And Hillel told Ravana all about the child, about the prophecies concerning him, about the wonders of the night when he was born, about the visit of the Magian priests. 7 About the way in which he was protected from the wrath of evil men, about his flight to Egypt land, and how he then was serving with his father as a carpenter in Nazareth. 8 Ravana was entranced, and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such a one as Son of Allah. 9 And with his gorgeous train he journeyed and came to Nazareth of Galilee. 10 He found the object of his search engaged in building dwellings for the sons of men. 11 And when he first saw Joshua he was climbing up a 12-step ladder, and he carried in his hands a compass, square, and axe. 12 Ravana said, "All hail, most favored son of heaven." 13 And at the inn Ravana made a feast for all the people of the town, and Joshua and his parents were honored guests. 14 For certain days Ravana was a guest in Joseph's home on Marmion Way. He sought to learn the secret of the wisdom of the sun, but it was all too great for him. 15 And then he asked that he might be the patron of the child, might take him to the east, where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms. 16 And Joshua longed to go, that he might learn, and after many days his parents gave consent. 17 Then, with proud heart, Rabbana with his train, began the journey towards the rising sun. And after many days they crossed the sand, and reached the province of Orissa, and the palace of the prince. 18 The Brahmic priests were glad to welcome home the prince, with favor they received the Jewish boy. 19 And Yashua was accepted as a pupil in the temple Jagannath, and here he learned the Vedas and the Manic law. 20 The Brahmic masters wondered at the clear conceptions of the child, and often were amazed when he explained to them the meaning of the law. Chapter 7 The friendship of Yashua and Lamaz. Yashua explains to Lamaz the meaning of truth. One among the priests of Jagannath was one who loved the Jewish boy. Lamaz Brahmas was the name by which the priest was known. 2 One day as Yashua and Lamaz walked alone in Plaza Jagannath, Lamaz said, "My Jewish master, what is truth?" 3 And Yashua said, "Truth is the only thing that changes not. For in all the world there are two things, the one is truth, the other is falsehood, and falsehood, that which seems to be." 5 Now truth is ought and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. 6 Falsehood is not, and yet it is the manifest of right. 7 Whatever has been made will be unmade, that which begins must end. 8 All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifests of ought, are not, and so must pass away. 9 The things we see are but reflexes just appearing, while the ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change they disappear. 10 The holy breath is truth, is that which was, and is, and evermore shall be, it cannot change, nor pass away. 11 Lamaz said, "You answer well, now what is man?" 12 And Yashua said, "Man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed." 13 Man is the breath made flesh, so truth and falsehood are conjoined in him, and they strive, and naught goes down in man as truth abides. 14 Again Lamaz asked, "What do you say of power?" 15 And Yashua said, "It is a manifest, is the result of force, it is but not, it is illusion. Nothing more. Force changes not, but power changes as the ethers change." 16 Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, and power is that will and manifest, directed by the breath. 17 There is power in the winds, a power in the waves, a power in the lightning's stroke, a power in the human arm, a power in the eye. 18 The ethers cause these powers to be, and thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things, directs the force. When it has done its work the power is no more. 19 Again Lamaz asked, "Of understanding, what have you to say?" 20 And Yashua said, "It is the rock on which man builds himself, it is the gnosis of the ought, and of the not, of falsehood, and of truth." 21 It is the knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself. 22 Again Lamaz asked, "Of wisdom what have you to say?" 23 And Yashua said, "It is the consciousness that man is ought, that Allah and man are one." 24 That naught is not, that power is but illusion, that heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in, which in the light of ought becomes the not, and Allah is all. 25 Lamaz asked, "Pray, what is faith?" 26 And Yashua said, "Faith is the surety of the omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach the deific life." 27 Salvation is a ladder reaching from the heart of man to heart of Allah. 28 It has 3 steps, belief is first, and this is what man thinks, perhaps, is truth. 29 And faith is next, and this is what man knows is truth. 30 Fruition is the last, and this is man himself, the truth. 31 Belief is lost in faith, and in fruition is lost, and man is saved when he has reached deific life, when he and Allah are one. Chapter 8 Yashua reveals to the people of their sinful ways. 1 In all the cities of Orissa Yashua taught. At K-OTIK, by the riverside, he taught, and thousands of the people followed him. 2 One day a car of Jagannath was hauled along by scores of frenzied men, and Yashua said, 3 Behold, a form without a spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. 4 This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. 5 This car is but an idol of a people drunk on wine of carnal things. 6 Allah lives not in the noise of tongues, there is no way to him from any idol shrine. 7 Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. 8 And all the people said, "Teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart, Allah." But the still small voice 9 And Yahshua said, the holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirits of the Holy One. 10 But in their image man was made, and he who looks into the face of man, looks at the image of the Allah who speaks within. 11 And when man honors man, he honors Allah, and what man does for man he does for Allah. 12 And you must bear in mind that when man harms in thought or word or deed another man, he does a wrong to Allah. 13 If you would serve the Allah who speaks within the heart, just serve your near of kin, and those that are no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks to do you harm. 14 Assist the poor, and help the weak, do harm to none, and covet not what is not yours. 15 Then, with your tongue the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears, will light your countenance with joy, and fill your hearts with peace. 16 And then the people asked, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? 17 And Yahshua said, our Father Allah asks not for needless waste of plant, of grain, of dove, of lamb. 18 That which you burn on any shrine you throw away. No blessings can attend the one who takes the food from hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. 19 When you would offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gift of grain or meat and lay it on the table of the poor. 20 From it an incense will arise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. 21 Tear down your idols, they can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for the flames. 22 Make human hearts your altars, and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. 23 And all the people were entranced, and would have worshipped Yahshua as a god, but Yahshua said, 24 I am your brother man, just come to show the way to Allah, you shall not worship man. Praise Allah the Holy One. Chapter 9 Yahshua attends a feast in beer, and here he taught human equality. 1 The fame of Yahshua as a teacher spread through all the land, and people came from near and far to hear his words of truth. 2 At beer, on the sacred river of the bronze, he taught for many days. 3 And a wealthy man of beer, made a feast in honor of his guest, and he invited every one to come. 4 And many came, among them thieves, extortioners, and courtesans. And Yahshua sat with them and taught, but they who followed him were much aggrieved, because he sat with thieves and courtesans. 5 And they upbraided him, they said, Rabboni, master of the wise, this day will be an evil day for you. 6 The news will spread that you consort with courtesans, and men will shun you as they shun an asp. 7 And Yahshua answered them and said, a master never screens himself for sake of reputation or of fame. 8 These are but worthless baubles of the day, they arise and sink, like empty bottles on a stream, they are illusions and will pass away. 9 They are the indices to what the thoughtless think, they are the noise that people make, and shallow men judge merit by the noise. 10 Allah and all master men judge men by what they are and not by what they seem to be, not by their reputation and their fame. 11 These courtesans and thieves are children of my Father Allah, their soul are just as precious in his sight as yours, or of the Brahmic priests. 12 And they are working out the same life sums that you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. 13 And some of them have solved much harder sums than you have solved, you men who look at them with scorn. 14 Yes, they are sinners, and confess their guilt while you are guilty, but are shrewd enough to have a polished coat to cover up your guilt. 15 Suppose you men who scorn the courtesans, these drunkards, and these thieves, who know that you are pure in heart and life, that you are better far than they, stand forth that men may know just who you are. 16 The sin lies in the wish, in the desire, not in the act. 17 You covet other people's wealth, you look at charming forms, and deep within your hearts you lust for them. 18 Deceit you practice every day, and wish for gold, for honor, and for fame, just for your selfish selves. 19 The man who covets is a thief, and she who lusts is courtesan. You who are none of these, speak out. 20 Nobody spoke, the accusers held their peace. 21 And Yahshua said, the proof this day is all against those who have accused. 22 The pure in heart do not accuse. The vile in heart who want to cover up their guilt with holy smoke of piety are ever loathing drunkard, thief, and courtesans. 23 This loathing and this scorn is mockery, for if the tinseled coat of reputation could be torn away, the loud professor would be found to revel in his lust, deceit, and many forms of secret sin. 24 The man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time to pull his own, and all the choicest flowers of life will soon be choked and die, and nothing will remain but darnel, thistles, and burrs. 25 And Yahshua spoke a parable. He said, Behold, a farmer had great fields of ripened grain. And when he looked he saw that blades of many stalks of wheat were bent and broken down. 26 And when he sent his reapers forth he said, We will not save the stalks of wheat that have the broken blades. 27 Go forth and cut and burn the stalks with broken blades. 28 And after many days he went to measure up his grain, but not a kernel could he find. 29 And then he called the harvesters and said to them, Where is my grain? 30 They answered him and said, We did according to your word, we gathered up and burned the stalks with broken blades, and not a stalk was left to carry to the barn. 31 And Yahshua said, If Allah saves only those who have no broken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, who will be saved? 32 And the accusers hung their heads in shame, and Yahshua went his way. Chapter X. Yahshua spake on the unity of Allah and man to the Hindus. 1 Benares is the sacred city of the Brahms, and in Benares Yahshua taught. Udrika was his host. 2 Udrika made a feast in honor of his guests, and many high-born Hindu priests and scribes were there. 3 And Yahshua said to them, With much delight I speak to you concerning life, the brotherhood of life. For the universal Allah is one, yet he is more than one, all things are one. 5 By the sweet breath of Allah all life is bound in one, so if you touch a fiber of a living thing, you send a thrill from the center to the outer bounds of life. 6 And when you crush beneath your foot the meanest worm, you shake the throne of Allah, and cause the sword of life to tremble in its sheath. 7 The bird sings out its song for men, and men vibrate in unison to help it sing. 8 The ant constructs her home, the bee its sheltering comb, the spider weaves her web and flowers breath to them a spirit in their sweet perfume that gives them strength to toil. 9 Now, men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities, made flesh, and how dare men kill anything? 10 It is cruelty that makes the world awry, when men have learned that when they harm a living thing, they harm themselves, they surely will not kill, nor cause a thing that Allah has made to suffer pain. 11 A lawyer said, I pray to Yahshua, tell who is this Allah you speak about, where are his priests, his temples, and his shrines? 12 And Yahshua said, The Allah I speak about is everywhere, he cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. 13 All people worship Allah, the One, but all the people see him not alike. 14 This universal Allah is wisdom, will and love. 15 All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as Allah of thought, another as Allah of love. 16 A man's ideal is his God, and so, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today. Tomorrow is not God. 17 The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. 18 Man names the part of Allah he sees, and this to him is all of Allah, and every nation sees a part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. 19 You Brahmins call him Parabrahm, in Egypt he is Thoth, and Zeus is his name in Greece. Jehovah is his Hebrew name, but everywhere he is the causeless cause, the rootless root from which all things have grown. 20 When men are afraid of Allah and take him for a foe, they dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests. 21 And charge them to restrain the wrath of Allah by prayers, and when they fail to win his favor by their prayers, to buy him off with sacrifice of animals or birds. 22 When man sees Allah as one with him, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priest to intercede. 23 He goes straight up to him and says, My Father God, Allah, and then he lays his hand in Allah's own hand, and all is well. 24 And this is Allah. You are, each one, a priest, just for yourself, and sacrifice of blood Allah does not want. 25 Just give your life in sacrificial service to all of life, and Allah is pleased. 26 When Yahshua had thus said he stood aside, the people were amazed, but strove among themselves. 27 Some said, he is inspired by holy Brahm, and others said, he is insane, and others said, he is obsessed, he speaks as devils speak. 28 But Yahshua tarried not. Among the guests was one, a tiller of the soil, a generous soul, a seeker after truth, who loved the words that Yahshua spoke, and Yahshua went with him, and in his home abode. Chapter 11. Yahshua and Barada together they read the sacred books. One among the Buddhist priests was one who saw a lofty wisdom in the words that Yahshua spoke. It was Barada Arabo. 2 Together Yahshua and Barada read the Jewish Psalms and Prophets, read the Vedas, they Avesta and the wisdom of Gautama. 3 And as they read and talked about the possibilities of man, Barada said, For man is the marvel of the universe. He is part of everything, for he has been a living thing. On every plane of life. 5 Time was when man was not, and then he was bit of formless substance in the molds of time, and then a protoplast. 6 By universal law, all things tend upward to a state of perfectness. The protoplast evolved, becoming worm, then reptile, bird, and beast, and then at last it reached the form of man. 7 Now, man himself is mind, and mind is here to gain perfection by experience, and mind is often manifest in fleshy form, and in the form best suited to its growth. So mind may manifest as worm, or bird, or beast, or man. 8 The time will come when everything of life will be evolved unto the state of perfect man. 9 And after man is man in perfectness, he will evolve to higher forms of life. 10 And Yahshua said, Barada Arabo, who taught you this, that mind which is the man, may manifest in flesh of beast, or bird, or creeping thing. 11 Barada said, From times which man remembers not our priests have told us so, and so we know. 12 And Yahshua said, Enlightened Arabo, are you a mastermind and do not know that man knows not by being told? 13 Man may believe what others say, but thus he never knows. If man would know, he must himself be what he knows. 14 Do you remember, Arabo, when you were ape, or bird, or worm? 15 Now, if you have no better proving of your plea than that the priests have told you so, you do not know, you simply guess. 16 Regard not, then, what any man has said, let us forget the flesh, and go with mind into the land of fleshless things. Mind never does forget. 17 And backward through the ages master minds can trace themselves, and thus they know. 18 Time never was when man was not. 19 That which begins will have an end. If man was not, the time will come when he will not exist. 20 From Allah's own record book we read, the triune Allah breathed forth, and stood 7 spirits before his face. The Hebrews call these 7 spirits, Elohim. 21 And these are they who, in their boundless power, created everything that is, or was. 22 These spirits of the triune Allah moved on the face of boundless space, and 7 others were in every other had its form of life. 23 These forms of life were but the thought of Allah, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. 24 Men call these ether planes the planes of protoplast, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel and of cherubim. 25 These planes with all their teeming thoughts of Allah, are never seen by eyes of man in flesh, they are composed of substance far too fine for fleshy eyes to see, and still they constitute the soul of things. 26 And with the eyes of soul all creatures see these ether planes, and all forms of life. 27 Because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of Allah, all creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and, in its measure, has the power to choose. 28 And in their native planes all creatures are supplied with nourishment from the ethers of their planes. 29 And so it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will, and then the ethers of the protoplast, the earth, the plant, the beast, the man, began to vibrate very slow. 30 The ethers all became more dense, and all the creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs of flesh, which men can see, and thus this coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. 31 And this is what is called the fall of man, but man fell not alone, for protoplast, and earth, and plant and beast were all included in the fall. 32 The angels and the cherubim fell not, their wills were ever strong, and so they held the ethers of their planes in harmony with Allah. 33 Now, when the ether reached the rate of atmosphere, and all the creatures of these planes must get their food from atmosphere, the conflict came, and that which the finite man called survival of the best, became the law. 34 The stronger ate the bodies of the weaker manifests, and here is where the carnal law of evolution had its rise. 35 And now man, in his utter shamelessness, strikes down and eats the beast consumes the plant thrives on the earth absorbs the protoplast. 36 In yonder kingdom of the soul this carnal evolution is not known, and the great work of masterminds is to restore the heritage of man, to bring him back to his estate that he has lost, when he again will live upon the ethers of his native plane. 37 The thoughts of Allah change not, the manifests of life on every plane unfold into perfection of their kind, and as the thought of Allah can never die, there is no death to any being of the seven ethers of the seven spirits of the triune Allah. 38 And so in earth is never plant, a beast, or bird, or creeping thing is never man, and man is not, and cannot be, a beast, or bird, or creeping thing. 39 The time will come when all these seven manifests will be absorbed, and man, and beast, and plant, and earth, and protoplast will be redeemed. 40 Barada was amazed, the wisdom of the Jewish sage was a revelation unto him. 41 Now, Piti, wisest of the Indian sages, chief of temple Kapavistu, heard Barada speak to Yahshua of the origin of man, and heard the answer of the Hebrew prophet, and he said, 42 You priests of Kapavistu, hear me speak, we stand today upon a crest of time. 6 times ago a master soul was born who gave a glorious light to man, and now a master sage stands here in the temple Kapavistu. 43 The Hebrew prophet is the rising star of wisdom, deified. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of Allah, and all the world will hear his words, will heed his words, and glorify his name. 44 You priests of temple Kapavistu, stay, be still and listen when he speaks, he is the living oracle of Allah. 45 And all the priests gave thanks, and praised the Buddha of enlightenment. Chapter 12 Yahshua teaches the common people at a spring tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. 1 In silent meditation Yahshua sat beside a flowing spring. It was a holy day, and many people of the servant caste were near the place. 2 And Yahshua saw the hard-drawn lines of toil on every brow, in every hand. There was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all the group could think of anything but toil. 3 And Yahshua spoke to one and said, Why are you all so sad? Have you no happiness in life? 4 The man replied, We scarcely know the meaning of that word. We toil to live, and hope for nothing else but toil, and bless the day when we can cease our toil and lay down and rest in Buddha's city of the dead. 5 And Yahshua's heart was stirred with pity and with love for these poor toilers, and he said, 6 Toil should not make a person sad, men should be happiest when they toil. When hope and love are back of toil, then all of life is filled with joy and peace, and this is heaven. Do you not know that such a heaven is for you? 7 The man replied, Of heaven we have heard, but then it is so far away, and we must live so many lives before we can reach that place. 8 And Yahshua said, My brother, man, your thoughts are wrong, your heaven is not far away, and it is not a place of metes and bounds, is not a country to be reached, it is a state of mind. 9 Allah never made a heaven for man, he never made a hell, we are creators and we make our own. 10 Now cease to seek for heaven in the sky, just open up the windows of the hearts, and like a flood of light, a heaven will come and bring a boundless joy, then toil will be no cruel task. 11 The people were amazed, and gathered close to hear this strange young master speak. 12 Imploring him to tell them more about the Father God, Allah, about the heaven that men can make on earth, about the boundless joy. 13 And Yahshua spoke a parable, he said, A certain man possessed a field, the soil was hard and poor. 14 By constant toil he scarcely could provide enough of food to keep his family from want. 15 One day a miner who could see beneath the soil, in passing on his way, saw this poor man in his unfruitful field. 16 He called the weary toiler and he said, My brother, know you not that just below the surface of your barren field rich treasures lie concealed? 17 You plow and sow and reap in a scanty way, and day by day you tread upon a mine of gold and precious stones. 18 This wealth lies not upon the surface of the ground, but if you will dig away the rocky soil, and delve down deep into the earth, you need no longer till the soil for naught. 19 The man believed. The miner surely knows, and I will find the treasures hidden in my field. 20 And then he dug away the rocky soil, and deep down in the earth he found a mine of gold. 21 And Joshua said, the sons of men are toiling hard on desert plains, and burning sands, and rocky soils, are doing what their fathers did, not dreaming they can do aught else. 22 Behold, a master comes, and tells them of a hidden wealth, that underneath the rocky soil of carnal things are treasures that no man can count. 23 That in the heart the richest gems abound, that he who wills may open the door and find them all. 24 And then the people said, make known to us the way that we may find the wealth that lies within the heart. 25 And Joshua opened up the way, the toilers saw another side of life, and toil became a joy. Chapter 13 Life and works of Joshua in Egypt among the Gentiles. 1 Joshua with Elihu and Salome in Egypt tells the story of his journeys. Elihu and Salome. Praise Allah. Joshua goes to the temple in Heliopolis and is received as a pupil. 2 And Joshua came to Egypt land and all was well. He tarried not upon the coast, he went at once to Zoan, home of Elihu and Salome, who 25 years before had taught his mother in their sacred school. 3 And there was joy when met these three. When last the son of Mary saw these sacred groves, he was a babe. 4 And now a man grown strong by buffeting of every kind, a teacher who had stirred the multitudes in many lands. 5 And Joshua told the aged teachers all about his life, about his journeyings in foreign lands, about the meetings with the masters and about his kind receptions by the multitudes. 6 Elihu and Salome heard his story with delight, they lifted up their eyes to heaven and said, Our Father God Allah, let now thy servants go in peace, for we have seen the glory of Allah. 7 And we have talked with him, the messenger of love, and of the covenant of peace on earth, goodwill to men. 8 Through him shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, through him, Emmanuel. 9 And Joshua stayed in Zoan many days, and then went forth unto the city of the sun, that men call Heliopolis, and sought admission to the temple of the sacred brotherhood. 10 The council of the brotherhood convened, and Joshua stood before the Hierophant, he answered all the questions that were asked with clearness and with power. 11 The Hierophant exclaimed, Rabboni of the Rabbinate, why come you here? Your wisdom is the wisdom of the gods, why seek for wisdom in the halls of men? 12 And Joshua said, in every way of earth life I would walk, in every hall of learning I would sit, the heights that any man has gained, these I would gain. 13 What any man has suffered I would meet, that I may know the griefs, the disappointments, and the sore temptations of my brother man, that I may know just how to succor those in need. 14 I pray you brothers, let me go into your dismal crypts, and I would pass the hardest of your tests. 15 The master said, take then the vow of secret brotherhood. And Joshua took the vow of secret brotherhood. 16 Again the master spoke, he said, the greatest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths, and you shall reach the greatest depths. 17 The guide then led the way, and in the fountain Joshua bathed, and when he had been clothed in proper garb he stood again before the Hierophant. Chapter 14 John, the harbinger, returns to Hebron, lives as a hermit in the wilds, visits Jerusalem, and speaks to the people. 1 It came to pass when John, the son of Zacharias and Elizabeth, had finished all his studies in the Egyptian schools, he returned to Hebron, where he abode for certain days. 2 And then he sought the wilderness and made his home in David's cave, where many years before he was instructed by the Egyptian sage. 3 Some people called him Hermit of Engaddi, and others said, he is the wild man of the hills. 4 He clothed himself with skins of beasts. His food was carobs, honey, nuts, and fruits. 5 When John was 30 years of age he went into Jerusalem, and in the marketplace he sat in silence 7 days. 6 The common people and the priests, the scribes, and Pharisees came out in multitudes to see the silent hermit of the hills, but none were bold enough to ask him who he was. 7 But when his silent past was done he stood forth in the midst of all and said, 8 Behold the king has come, the prophets told of him, the wise men long have looked for him. 9 Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. 10 And that was all he said, and then he disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. 11 And there was great unrest through all Jerusalem. The rulers heard the story of the hermit of the hills. 12 And they sent couriers forth to talk with him that they might know about the coming king. But they could find him not. 13 And after certain days he came again into the marketplace, and all the city came to hear him speak. He said, 14 Be not disturbed, you rulers of the state, the coming king is no antagonist, he seeks no place on any earthly throne. He comes the Prince of Peace, the King of righteousness and love, his kingdom is within the soul. 15 The eyes of men shall see it not, and none can enter but the pure in heart. 16 Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. 17 Again, the hermit disappeared, the people strove to follow him, but he had drawn a veil about his form and men could see him not. 18 Jewish feast day came, Jerusalem was filled with Jews and proselytes from every part of Palestine, and John stood in the temple court and said, 19 Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. 20 So, you have lived in sin, the poor cry in your streets, and you regard them not. 21 Your neighbors, who are they? You have defrauded friends and foes alike. 22 You worship Allah with voice and lip, your hearts are far away, and set on gold. 23 Your priests have found upon the people burdens far too great to bear, they live in ease upon the hard-earned wages of the poor. 24 Your lawyers, doctors, scribes are useless cumberers of the ground, they are but tumors on the body of the state. 25 They toil not, neither do they spin, yet they consume the profits of your marts of trade. 26 Your rulers are adulterers, extortioners, and thieves, regarding not the rights of any man. 27 And robbers ply their calling in the sacred hills, the holy temple you have sold to thieves. Their dens are in the sacred places set apart for prayer. 28 Hear, you people of Jerusalem. Reform, turn from your evil ways, or Allah will turn from you, and heathen from afar will come, and what is left of all your honor and your fame will pass in one short hour. 29 Prepare, Jerusalem, prepare to meet your king. 30 He said no more, he left the court and no one saw him go. 31 The priests, the doctors, and the scribes were all in rage. They sought for John, intent to do him harm. They found him not. The common people stood in his defense, they said, the hermit speaks the truth. And then the priests, the doctors, and the scribes were sore afraid, they said no more, they hid themselves away. Chapter 15 Yahshua goes to the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains 40 days subjected to 3 temptations. He overcomes, returns to the camps of John and begins teaching. 1 The harbinger had paved the way, the Logos had been introduced to men as love made manifest, and he must now begin his divine ministry. 2 And he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart, and note its strength and worthiness. 3 And with himself he talked, he said, my lower self is strong, by many ties I am bound down to carnal life. 4 Have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? 5 When I shall stand before the face of men, and they demand a proof of my messiahship, what will I say? 6 And then the tempter came and said, if you be son of Allah, command these stones to turn to bread. 7 And Yahshua said, who is it that demands a test? It is no sign that one is son of Allah. Because he does a miracle, the devils can do mighty things. 8 Did not the Gentile magicians do great things before the Pharaoh? 9 My words and deeds in all the walks of life shall be the proof of my messiahship. 10 And then the tempter said, if you will go into Jerusalem, and from the temple pinnacle cast down yourself to earth, the people will believe that you are the Messiah sent from Allah. 11 This you can surely do, for did not David say, he gives his angels charge concerning you, and with their will they uphold lest you should fall. 12 And Yahshua said, I may not tempt the Lord, my God, Allah. 13 And then the tempter said, look forth upon the world, behold its honors and its fame, behold its pleasures and its wealth. 14 If you will give your life for these they shall be yours. 15 But Yahshua said, away from me all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. I spurn this carnal self with all its vain ambition and its pride. 16 For 40 days did Yahshua wrestle with his carnal self, his higher self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered to him. 17 Then Yahshua left the wilderness, and in the consciousness of holy breath, he came unto the camps of John and taught. Chapter 16. Pilate's final effort to release Yahshua fails. He washes his hands in feigned innocence, delivers Yahshua to the Jews. For execution, the Jewish soldiers drive him to Calvary. 1. A superstitious people are the Jews. They have a faith that they have borrowed from the idol worshippers of other lands, that at the end of every year, 2. They may heap all their sins upon the head of some man set apart to bear their sins. 3. The man becomes a scapegoat for the multitudes, and they believe that when they drive him forth into the wilds, or into foreign lands, they are released from sins. 4. So every spring before the feast they chose a prisoner from the prisons of the land, and by a form their own, they fain would make him bear their sins away. 5. Among the Jewish prisoners in Jerusalem were 3 who were the leaders of a vile, seditious band, who had engaged in thefts and murders and rapine, and had been sentenced to be crucified. 6. Barabbas, and Josiah was among the men who were to die, but Barabbas was rich, and he had bought off priests the boon to be scapegoat for the people at the coming feast, and he was anxiously in waiting for his hour to come. 7. Now, Pilate thought to turn this superstition to account to save the Lord Yahshua, and so he went again before the Jews and said, 8. You men of Israel, according to my custom I will release to you today a prisoner who shall bear you sins away. 9. This man you drive into the wilds or into foreign lands, and you have asked me to release Barabbas, who has been proven guilty of the murder of a score of men. 10. Now, hear me, men. Let Yahshua be released, and let Barabbas pay his debt upon the cross. Then you can send this Yahshua to the wilds and hear no more of him. 11. At what the ruler said, the people were enraged, and they began to plot to tear the Roman palace down and drive in exile Pilate, and his household and his guards. 12. When Pilate was assured that civil war would follow if he heeded not the wishes of the mob, he took a bowl of water, and in the presence of the multitude he washed his hands and said, 13. This man whom you accuse is son of the Most High Allah, and I proclaim my innocence. 14. If you would shed his blood is on your hands and not on mine. 15. And then the Jews exclaimed, and let his blood be on our hands and on our children's hands. 16. And Pilate trembled like a leaf, in fear. Barabbas he released, and as the Lord stood forth before the mob, the ruler said, Behold your king. And would you put to death your king? 17. The Jews replied, He is no king, we have no king but great Tiberius. 18. Now, Pilate would not give consent that Roman soldiers should imbue their hands in blood of innocence, and so the chief priests and the Pharisees took counsel what to do with Yahshua. 19. Caiaphas has said, We cannot crucify this man, he must be stoned to death and nothing more. 20. And then the rabble said, Make haste. Let him be stoned. And then they led him forth toward the hill beyond the city's gates, where criminals were put to death. 21. The rabble could not wait until they reached the place of skulls. As soon as they had passed the city's gates, they rushed upon him, smote him with their hands, they spit upon him, stoned him, and he fell upon the ground. 22. And 1, a man of Allah, stood forth and said, Isaiah said, He shall be bruised for our transgressions, and by his stripes we shall be healed. 23. As Yahshua lay all bruised and mangled on the ground, the high priest called out, Stay! Stay, you men! Behold, the guards of Herod come, and they will crucify this man. 24. And there beside the city's gate they found Barabbas' cross, and then the frenzied mob cried out, Let him be crucified. 25. Caiaphas and the other ruling Jews came forth and gave consent. 26. And then they lifted Yahshua from the ground, and at the point of swords they drove him on. 27. A man named Simon, from Cyrene, a friend of Yahshua, was near the scene, and since they bruised and wounded Yahshua could not bear his cross, they laid it on the shoulders of this man and made him bear it on to Calvary. Chapter 17. Yahshua appears, fully materialized, before Apollo, and the silent brotherhood in Greece appears to Claudia and Juliet. On the Tiber near Rome appears to the priest in the Egyptian temple at Heliopolis. 1. Apollo, with the silent brotherhood of Greece, was sitting in a Delphian grove. The oracle had spoken loud and long. 2. The priests were in the sanctuary, and as they looked, the oracle became a blaze of light. It seemed to be on fire, and all consumed. 3. The priests were filled with fear. They said, A great disaster is to come, our gods are mad. They have destroyed our oracle. 4. But when the flames had spent themselves, a man stood on the oracle's pedestal and said, 5. Allah speaks to man, not by an oracle of wood and gold, but by the voice of man. 6. The gods have spoken to the Greeks, in kindred tongues, through images made by man. But Allah the One, now speaks to man through Yahshua the only Son, who was, and is and evermore will be. 7. This oracle shall fail, the living oracle of Allah, the One, will not fail. 8. Apollo knew the man who spoke, he knew it was the Nazarene who once had taught the wise men in the Acropolis and had rebuked the idol worshippers upon the Athens beach. 9. And in a moment Yahshua stood before Apollo in the silent brotherhood and said, 10. Behold, for I have risen from the dead with gifts for men. I bring to you the title of your vast estate. 11. All power in heaven and earth is mine, to you I give all power in heaven and earth. 12. Go forth and teach the nations of the earth the gospel of the resurrection of the dead and of eternal life through Yahshua, the love of Allah made manifest to men. 13. And then he clasped Apollo's hand and said, my human flesh was changed to higher form. By love divine and I can manifest in flesh or in the higher planes of life at will. 14. What I can do all men can do. Go teach the gospel of the omnipotence of man. 15. Then Yahshua disappeared, but Greece and Crete and all the nations heard. 16. Claudius and Juliet, his wife, lived on the Palatine in Rome and they were servants of Tiberius, but they had been in Galilee. 17. Had walked with Yahshua by the sea, had heard his words and seen his power, and they believed that he was Yahshua made manifest. 18. Now Claudius and his wife were on the Tiber in a little boat, a storm swept from the sea. The boat was wrecked and Claudius and his wife were sinking down to death. 19. And Yahshua came and took them by the hands and said, Claudius and Juliet, arise and walk with me upon the waves. 20. And they arose and walked with him upon the waves. 21. 8,000 people saw three walk on the waves, and saw them reach the land, and they were all amazed. 22. And Yahshua said, you men of Rome, I am the resurrection and the life. They that are dead shall live, and many that shall live will never die. 23. By mouth of gods and demigods Allah spoke unto your fathers long ago, but now he speaks to you through perfect man. 24. He sent his Son, Yahshua, in human flesh to save the world, and as I lifted from the watery grave and saved these servants of Tiberius. 20. So Yahshua will lift the sons and daughters of the human race, yet every one of them, from darkness and from graves of carnal things, to light and everlasting life. 26. I am the manifest of love raised from the dead, behold my hands, my feet, my side, which carnal men have pierced. 27. Claudius and Juliet whom I have saved from death, are my ambassadors to Rome. 28. And they will point the way and preach the gospel of the holy breath and the resurrection of the dead. 29. And that was all he said, but Rome and all of Italy heard. 30. The priests of Heliopolis were in their temple met to celebrate the resurrection of their brother Nazarite, they knew that he had risen from the dead. 31. The Nazarite appeared and stood upon a sacred pedestal on which no man had ever stood. 32. This was an honor that had been reserved for him who first would demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. 33. And Yahshua was the first of all the human race to demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. 34. When Yahshua stood upon the sacred pedestal the masters stood and said, all hail. The great bells of the temple rang and all the temple was ablaze with light. 35. And Yahshua said, all honor to the masters of this temple of the Sunday. 36. In flesh of man there is the essence of the resurrection of the dead. This essence, quickened by the holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to a higher tone. 37. And make it like the substance of the bodies of the plains above, which human eyes cannot behold. 38. There is a holy ministry in death. The essence of the body cannot be quickened by the holy breath until the fixed is solved, the body must disintegrate, and this is death. 39. And then upon these pliant substances Allah breathes, just as he breathed upon the chaos of the deep when worlds were formed. 40. And life springs forth from death, the carnal form is changed to form divine. 41. The will of man makes possible the action of the holy breath. When will of man and will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. 42. In this we have the chemistry of mortal life, the ministry of death, the mystery of deific life. 43. My human life was wholly given to bring my will to tune with the deific will. When this was done my earth tasks all were done. 44. And you, my brother, know full well the foes I had to meet, you know about my victories in Gethsemane, my trials in the courts of men, my death upon the cross. 45 You know that all my life was one great drama for the sons of men, a pattern for the sons of men. I lived to show the possibilities of man. 46 What I have done all men can do, and what I am all men shall be. 47 The masters looked, the form upon the sacred pedestal had gone, but every temple priest and every living creature said, Praise Allah. Chapter 18. The resurrection of Yahshua. Pilate places the Roman seal upon the stone door of the tomb at midnight. A company of the silent brothers march about the tomb. The soldiers are alarmed. Yahshua preaches to the spirits in prison. Early Sunday morning he rises from the tomb. The soldiers are bribed by the priests to say that the disciples had stolen the body. The tomb in which they laid the body of the Lord was in a garden, rich with flowers, the garden of Salome, and Joseph's home was near. 2 Before the watch began, Caiaphas sent a company of priests out to the garden of Salome, that they might be assured that Yahshua's body was within the tomb. 3 They rolled away the stone, they saw the body there, and then they placed the stone again before the door. 4 And Pilate sent his scribe, who placed upon the stone the seal of Rome, in such a way that he who moved the stone would break the seal. 5 To break this Roman seal meant death to him who broke the seal. 6 The Jewish soldiers all were sworn to faithfulness, and then the watch began. 7 At midnight all was well, but suddenly the tomb became a blaze of light, and down the garden walk a troop of white-clad soldiers marched in single file. 8 They came up to the tomb and marched and counter-marched before the door. 9 The Jewish soldiers were alert, they thought his friends had come to steal the body of the Nazarene. The captain of the guard cried out to charge. 10 They charged, but not a white-clad soldier fell. They did not even stop, they marched and counter-marched among the frightened men. 11 They stood upon the Roman seal, they did not speak, they unsheathed not their swords. It was the silent brotherhood. 12 The Jewish soldiers fled in fear, they fell upon the ground. 13 They stood apart until the white-clad soldiers marched away, and then the light about the tomb grew dim. 14 Then they returned, the stone was in its place, the seal was not disturbed, and they resumed their watch. 15 Now, Yahshua did not sleep within the tomb. The body is the manifest of soul, but soul is without its manifest. 16 And in the realm of souls, unmanifest, the Lord went forth and taught. 17 He opened up the prison doors and set the prisoners free. 18 He broke the chains of captive souls, and led the captives to the light. 19 He sat in council with the patriarchs and prophets of the olden times. 20 The masters of all times and climes he met, and in the great assemblies he stood forth, and told the story of his life on earth, and of his death in sacrifice for man. 21 And of his promises to clothe himself again in garb of flesh and walk with his disciples, just to prove the possibilities of man. 22 To give to them the key of life, of death, and of the resurrection of the dead. 23 In council all the masters sat and talked about the revelations of the coming age. 24 When she, the holy breath, shall fill the earth and air with holy breath, and open up the way of man to perfectness and endless life. 25 The garden of Salome was silent on the Sabbath day. The Jewish soldiers watched and no one else approached the tomb, but on the following night the scene was changed. 26 At midnight every Jewish soldier heard a voice which said, Adon Mashich Kumi, which meant, Lord Yahshua arise. 27 And they supposed again the friends of Yahshua were alert, were coming up to take the body of their Lord away. 28 The soldiers were alert with swords unsheathed and drawn, and then they heard the words again. 29 It seemed as though the voice was everywhere, and yet they saw no man. 30 The soldiers blanched with fear, and still to flee meant death for cowardice, and so they stood and watched. 31 Again, and this was just before the sun arose, the heavens blazed with light, a distant thunder seemed to herald forth a coming storm. 32 And then the earth began to quake, and in the rays of light they saw a form descend from heaven. They said, Behold, an angel comes. 33 And then they heard again, Adon Mashich Kumi. 34 And then the white-robed form tramped on the Roman seal, and then he tore it into shreds. He took the mighty stone in his hand as though it were a pebble from the brook, and cast it to the side. 35 And Yahshua opened up his eyes and said, All hail the rising sun, the coming of the day of righteousness. 36 And then he folded up his burial gown, his headbands and his coverings, and laid them All aside. 37 He arose, and for a moment stood beside the white-robed form. 38 The weaker soldiers fell to the ground, and hid their faces in their hands. The stronger stood and watched. 39 They saw the body of the Nazarene transmute. They saw it change from mortal to immortal form, and then it disappeared. 40 The soldiers heard a voice from somewhere, yet, from everywhere, it said. 41 Peace, peace on earth, goodwill to men. 42 They looked. The tomb was empty and the Lord had risen as he said. 43 The soldiers hastened to Jerusalem, and to the priests, and said. 44 Behold, the Nazarene has risen as he said. The tomb is empty and the body of the man is gone, we know not where it is. And then they told about the wonders of the night. 45 Caiaphas called a council of the Jews. He said the news must not go forth that Yahshua has arisen from the dead. 46 For if it does, all men will say, he is the Son of Allah, and all our testimonials will be proven false. 47 And then they called the 100 soldiers in and said to them. 48 You know not where the body of the Nazarene is resting now. So if you will go forth and say that his disciples came and stole the body while you slept. 49 Each one of you shall have a silver piece, and we will make it right with Pilate for breaking of the Roman seal. 50 The soldiers did as they were paid to do. Chapter 19 Yahshua appears, fully materialized, to the eastern sages in the palace of Prince Ravana in India to the Magian priests. In Persia the three wise men speak in praise of the personality of the Nazarene. 1 Ravana, Prince of India, gave a feast. His palace in Orissa was the place where men of thought from all the farther east were wont to meet. 2 Ravana was the prince with whom the child Yahshua went to India with when 12 years old. 3 The feast was made in honor of the wise men of the east. 4 Among the guests were men Saint, Vidyapati and Lamos. 5 The wise men sat about the table talking of the needs of India and the world. 6 The door unto the banquet hall was in the east, a vacant chair was at the table to the east. 7 And as the wise men talked a stranger entered, unannounced, and raising up his hands in benediction said, All hail. 8 A halo rested on his head, and light, unlike the light of sun, filled all the room. 9 The wise men rose and bowed their heads and said, All hail. 10 And Yahshua sat down in the vacant chair, and then the wise men knew it was the Jewish prophet who had come. 11 And Yahshua said, Behold, for I am risen from the dead. Look at my hands, my feet, my side. 12 The Roman soldiers pierced my hands and feet with nails, and then one pierced my heart. 13 They put me in a tomb, and then I wrestled with the conqueror of men. I conquered death. I stamped upon him and arose. 14 Brought immortality to light and painted on the walls of time a rainbow for the sons of men, and what I did all men shall do. 15 This gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined to Jew and Greek, it is the heritage of every man of every time and clime, and I am here a demonstrator of the power of man. 16 Then he arose and pressed the hand of every man in of the royal host, and said. 17 Behold, I am not myth made of the fleeting wines, for I am flesh and bone and brawn. But I can cross the borderland at will. 18 And then they talked together there a long time. Then Yahshua said. 19 I go my way, but you shall go to all the world and teach the gospel of the omnipotence of men, the power of truth, the resurrection of the dead. 20 He who believes this gospel of the Son of Man shall never die, the dead shall live again. 21 Then Yahshua disappeared, but he had sown the seed. The words of life were spoken in Orissa, and all of India heard. 22 The Magian priests were in the silence in Persepolis, and Casper, and the Magian masters, who were first to greet the child of promise in the shepherd's home in Bethlehem, were with the priests. 23 And Yahshua came and sat with them, a crown of light was on his head. 24 And when the silence ended Casper said, A master from the royal council of the silent brotherhood is here, let us give praise. 25 And all the priests and masters stood and said, All hail. What message from the royal council do you bring? 26 And Yahshua said, My brothers of the silent brotherhood, peace, peace on earth, good will to men. 27 The problem of the age has been solved, a son of man risen from the dead, has shown that human flesh can be transformed into flesh divine. 28 Before the eyes of men this flesh in which I come to you is changed with speed of light. from human flesh. And so I am the message that I bring to you. 29 To you I come, the first of all the race to be transmuted to the image of Allah. 30 What I have done, all men will do, and what I am, all men shall be. 31 But Yahshua said no more. In one short breath he told the story of his mission to the sons of men, and then he disappeared. 32 The Magi said, some time ago we read this promise, now fulfilled, upon the dial plague of heaven. 33 And then we saw this man who has just demonstrated unto us the power of man to raise from carnal flesh and blood to flesh of Allah, a babe in Bethlehem. 34 And after many years he came and sat with us in these same groves. 35 He told the story of his human life, of trials, sore temptations, buffeting and woes. 36 He pressed along the thorny way of life till he had risen and overthrown the strongest foes of Allah and man, and he is now the only master of the human race whose flesh has been transmuted into flesh divine. 37 He is the God-man of today, but everyone of earth shall overcome and be like him, a son of Allah. Epilogue for chapters 219. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age, and the events after he had risen from the dead. He appeared back to India, Europe, and Africa in the land of Egypt, and made himself known unto the world. These events are the 18 years which are absent in your Holy Bible. The events of John the Baptist. John taught by the Egyptian sage the meaning of baptism and how to baptize himself. And after he was baptized, he was taken at the age of 12 years into Africa, the land of Egypt, and there he remained in the Egyptian schools 18 years. And there he learned his duty as forerunner of Yahshua. Chapter XX. Holy instruction and warnings for all young men. 1 Beware, young man, beware of all the allurements of wantonness, and let not the harlot tempt thee to excess in her delights. 2 The madness of desire shall defeat its own pursuits, from the blindness of its rage, thou shalt rush upon destruction. 3 Therefore give not up thy heart to her sweet enticements, neither suffer thy soul to be enslaved by her enchanting delusions. 4 The fountain of health which must supply the stream of pleasure, shall quickly be dried up, and every spring of joy shall be exhausted. 5 In the prime of thy life old age shall overtake thee, the sun shall decline in the morning of thy days. 6 But when virtue and modesty enlighten her charms, the luster of a beautiful woman is brighter than the stars of heaven, and the influence of her power it is in vain to resist. 7 The whiteness of her bosom transcendeth the lily, her smile is more delicious than a garden of roses. 8 The innocence of her eyes is like that of the turtle, simplicity and truth dwell in her heart. 9 The kisses of her mouth are sweeter than honey, the perfumes of Arabia breathe from her lips. 10 Shut not thy bosom to the tenderness of love, the purity of its flame shall ennoble thy heart, and soften it to receive the fairest impressions. Chapter XXI. Marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. 1 Give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart, so shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form. And thy beauty, like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its bloom is withered. 2 In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze on thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks, herewith caution their seducing words, guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions. 3 Remember thou art made man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passion. The end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with thy tenderness and recompense his care with soft endearments. For who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love, and reigneth in his breast? 5 Lo, yonder she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind, and modesty on her cheek. 6 Her hand seeketh employment, her foot delighteth not in goodieing abroad. 7 She is clothed with neatness, she is fed with temperance, humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head. 8 On her tongue dwelleth music, the sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words, in her answers are mildness and truth. 9 Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward. 10 Before her steps walketh prudence, and virtue attendeth at her right hand. 11 Her eyes speak softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth on her brow. 12 The tongue of the licentious is dumb in her presence, the awe of her virtue keepeth him silent. 13 When scandal is busy, and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature open not her mouth, the finger of silence resteth on her lip. 14 Her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore she suspecteth no evil of others. 15 Happy were the man that should make her his wife, happy the child that should call her mother. 16 She presideth in the house, and there is peace, she commandeth with judgment, and is obeyed. 17 She ariseth in the morning, she considers her affairs, and appointeth to every one their proper business. 18 The care of her family is her whole delight, to that alone she applieth her study, and elegance with frugality is seen in her mansion. 19 The prudence of her management is an honor to her husband, he heareth her praise with a secret delight. 20 She informeth the minds of her children with wisdom, she fashioneth their manners from the examples of her own goodness. 21 The words of her mouth is the law of their youth, the motion of her eye commandeth their obedience. 22 She speaketh, and the servants fly, she pointeth, and the thing is done, for the law of love is in their hearts, and her kindness addeth wings to their feet. 23 In prosperity she is not puffed up, in adversity she healeth the wounds of fortune with patience. 24 The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments, he putteth his heart in her bosom, and receiveth comfort. 25 Happy is the man that has made her his wife, happy the child that call her mother. Chapter XXII. Duty of a husband. 1 Take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinance of Allah, take unto thyself a wife, and become a faithful member of society. 2 But examine with care, and fix not suddenly. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. 3 If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty, and delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth much, and talketh loud, if her foot abideth not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charms, turn thy feet from her paths, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. 4 But when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manners, and accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house, she is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. 5 O cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. 6 She is the mistress of thy house, treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. 7 Oppose not her inclination without cause, she is the partner of thy cares, make her also the companion of thy pleasures. 8 Reprove her faults with gentleness, exact not her obedience with rigor. 9 Trust thy secrets in her breast, her counsels are sincere, thou shalt not be deceived. 10 Be faithful to her bed, for she is mother of thy children. 11 When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction, a look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief, or instigate her pain and be of more avail than 10 physicians. 12 Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfections. Chapter XXIII. Holy instructions for thy children. 1 Consider, thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. 2 Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, an useful or a worthless member to the community. 3 Prepare him early with instruction, and season his mind with the maxims of truth. 4 Watch the bent of his inclinations, set him right in his youth and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. 5 So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains, his head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. 6 A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doth right is an honor to his gray hairs. 7 The soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation, the seed which thou sowest, that also shall thou reap. 8 Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee, teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. 9 Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits, teach him charity, and he shall gain love. 10. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. 11. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. 12. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. 13. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Chapter XXIV. The obedience of children towards their father. 1. From the secrets of Allah let man learn wisdom, and apply to himself the instruction they give. 2. Go to the desert, my son, observe the young stork of the wilderness, let him speak to thy heart. He beareth on his wings his aged sire, he lodgeth him in safety, and supplieth him with food. 3. The piety of a child is sweeter than the incense of Persia offering to the sun, yet more delicious than odors wafted from a field of Arabian spices of the western gales. 4. Be grateful to thy father, for he gave thee life, and to thy mother, for she sustained thee. 5. Hear the words of his mouth, for they are spoken for thy good, give ear to his admonition, for it proceedeth from love. 6. He hath watched for thy welfare, he hath toiled for thy ease, do honor therefore to his age, and let not his grey hairs be treated with irreverence. 7. Forget not thy helpless infancy, nor the forwardness of thy youth, and indulge the infirmities of thy aged parents, assist and support them in the decline of life. 8. So shall their hoary heads go down to the grave in peace, and thine own children, in reverence of thy example, shall repay thy piety with filial love. Chapter XXV. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. 1. Yet are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. 2. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. 3. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. 4. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him, if thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. 5. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, in your love to each other. Chapter XXVI. Holy instructions of unity. 1. The gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah, and he appointed to every one his portion, in what measure seemeth good unto himself. 2. Hath he endowed thee with wisdom? Hath he enlightened thy mind with the knowledge of truth? Communicated to the ignorant, for their instruction, communicated to the wise, for thine own improvement. 3. True wisdom is less presuming than folly. The wise man doubteth often, and changeth his mind. The fool is obstinate, and doubteth not, he knoweth all things, but his own ignorance. 4. The pride of emptiness is an abomination, and to talk much, is the foolishness of folly. Nevertheless, it is the part of wisdom to hear with patience their impertinence, and to pity their absurdity. 5. Yet be not puffed up in thine own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding, they clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. 6. The wise man feeleth his imperfections, and is humbled, he laboureth in vain for his own approbation, but the fool peepeth in the shadow stream of his own mind, and is pleased with the pebbles which he seeth at the bottom, he bringeth them up and showeth them as pearls, and with the applause of his brethren delighteth himself. 7. He boasteth of attainments and things that are of no worth, but where it is a shame to be ignorant, there he hath no understanding. 8. Even in the path of wisdom, he toileth after folly, and shame and disappointment are the reward of his labor. 9. But the wise man cultivates his